Drop in on Monday night. Let it fly, boy.
What's up, Homer Maniacs? We're coming to you live from the B.F. Evans studio in parts unknown. It's the Homer Show, brought to you by Darrell Vanover's Greater Owensboro Realty. #1 realtor on the 270 depth chart. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Darrell by phone or text 270-315-0354. I'm Stephen A. Turner, joined by Mr. Brandon Ward.
Gorilla style.
And Mr. David Clark.
Wow, man. Did the first week of the high school football playoffs really just happen? I feel like the season started yesterday.
Yeah, and then there were 4, right?
That's right.
Yeah. 4 left standing.
The top 4 in our Shelby's Wheel and Tire final poll of the season. It took a lot of heat all season.
You know, it's funny. I noticed that. It was poetic justice right there, man.
It didn't really hit me till I was going through it at the end, and I was like, well, there's 4 teams left, and I was like, and there's the 4 we had in the top 4. Awesome.
I mean,
sometimes, really, most often it does work out that way.
People take, they give us crap for the, and that's great. We want it.
It's awesome.
Give us the feedback. We love that. But at the end of the day, we're usually right.
Which makes it even better, really. At the end of the day, I mean, it is what we do this a lot. We've been doing we've learned. It's been a process, and I think we're getting to the point where maybe we're figuring it out just a little bit. Maybe.
I think so. I'd say we have an insight. How about that?
I think going into the season, we had 3 of the 4 team picks. I think Grayson kind of came out of nowhere thanks to Mr. Q McHenry.
And it did. And again, we
found out about him at the Ohio County preview. So we found out that he was going to Grayson late, so we didn't have any idea.
No, we didn't. And, I kept wondering, gosh, is Ed Smart just this kind of confident guy, or is he know something that I don't know? Well, he knew something that I didn't know.
Yeah, and they look pretty good. They got to cast around Q McHenry. We'll talk about it.
I'm going to tell you right now, Grayson County's got a young guy. We'll talk about it after a while, too, but he plays at ODCYFL for the Bears, number 18.
Oh, that's right.
He's actually from Grayson County, and his name escapes me right now. I do apologize for that. That kid is going to be a stud for the Cougars here in about 4 or 5 years.
He was the talk of the entire ODCYFL.
Best player in the league.
At any level. Yeah. I feel like in the stands, he'd be like, I had number 18 for the Bears.
I believe he'll be playing for the Predators. I think so.
A great addition to the squad, no question about it. Let's go ahead and we'll waste no time. We'll go ahead and flash it back to Friday night, courtesy of Aunt M's Cafe at 802 North Main Street in Greenville, inside Uncle Lee's, home of the best burger in the 3rd region. We don't want to flash it back to Saturday and talk about the Cats. We'll just leave that be until next week when Kentucky gets back on the winning ways versus Tennessee. Clay Travis's Tennessee is going down next week. But let's go ahead and flash it back to Friday night, courtesy of the Don Moore Auto Team. We're over in beautiful Calhoun, Kentucky.
That's right.
Paulson Stadium, moredeals.com, always, every week, the Game of the Week sponsor. To shop over 13 brands and 1,000 vehicles, visit moredeals.com to see the More Advantage. Best value, transparent, and upfront. It's moredeals.com. And before we can even get to the final score, what's most important is the pregame activities. I feel like, listen, every school, I feel like, should send a scout to Paulson Stadium on Friday night. Every school in this area, and this is not taking a shot at any of our other schools. We love you all, but you just don't do it like McLean County does it in the pregame. I'm sorry. Your tailgates, Catholic included, you're not getting it done like they get it done in Calhoun. You go over there, it's like a festival. I mean, it feels like the show Friday Night Lights. You got people around the hill. Everybody's camped out with their families. There's fellowship. There's unbelievable food, which we'll get to in a minute. But it's just, when you go there, it just feels like a big game atmosphere no matter what's going on. I just felt like I was where I needed to be on Friday night. I really did. I was jacked up and ready for some playoff football.
It was on level 11 for a home playoff game, which hadn't been around at McLean County for quite a while, and they broke out some delicacies.
The delicacies. For the pre-games. Hey, look, when somebody says, hey, go over there to the grill and get you something to eat, first thing that comes to your mind, you open the grill, what do you think is going to be in there?
Burger.
Burger, right?
Right, yeah.
No burgers. What about hot dogs? No.
Just hot dogs, yeah.
No hot dogs. This is McLean
Pork
County.
Pork chop?
Now, there was some pork chops.
Pork chops,
All
okay.
right. And I think we can attest maybe some of the best pork chops you ever put in your mouth.
Oh, yes.
Best pork chop I've ever had. They looked like steak and they tasted like steak.
I was fully expecting
Man,
just a
I
burger.
hate y'all, man. I
We were in
missed
the
it.
press
I
box.
missed it.
The grill was in
I
front
didn't
of
even eat anything else. I just ate pork chops, 4 of them.
The grill was in front of the school over by
Yeah,
the gym.
yeah.
We're in the press box. And I told Ward, I said, I don't know what they're cooking over there, man, but this smells unbelievable. And I just ate like not too long ago. We go over there, man. We get
Wait a minute, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
You ate before you went to McLean County?
I did, yeah, absolutely. I ate with the. Well, I mean,
You've never been to Calhoun before?
Well, no, I mean, I just ate a burger on the
Right,
way. I'm
right.
always on the move. I get my kids something to eat.
Right.
And I was like, I'll just get me a snack. I hadn't ate all day, you know. And we actually had a work meeting where I was kind of forced to eat.
Right.
I didn't have to.
So you just ate because it was
great.
there in front
Absolutely.
of you. That's forgivable. Okay.
As you can see right here, I'm starting to pack it on a little bit, you know.
All right.
But
Fair
anyway,
enough.
underneath the hood of the grill, you've got the pork chops, which we discussed. You've got shrimp, okay, which is, I mean,
Which I have had that over there.
I could have ate the entire thing. You would think McLean County is on the bayou or something, the way they come up with the shrimp. I had no idea. They got like a seafood
They literally
supplier or
get their
what?
seafood imported. I think it was Mr. Beals, I believe, gets the seafood in from somewhere, like a truck or something.
It's
It
unreal.
tastes fresh.
Yeah.
And then you got grilled smoked bologna, which is, I mean, it's got peppers and onions, and I'm like, I'm just trying it because I know if it's in there, it's probably good. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to taste like, but I'm just going to get a little bit of everything. Got the shrimp, and there's a potato hash. It's like fried potatoes with like onions, and it's got regular mashed potatoes. It's a little mixture. And last but not least, you've got cotton candy salmon. You're going to ask me, what's cotton candy salmon? I have no idea. But it may be the best thing I've ever put in my mouth.
I Googled it when we got home, and it doesn't exist except in McLean County. There was nothing on Google about it.
I mean,
cotton candy salmon.
I don't know what it was. It was salmon. I didn't get it at first. Okay, I got the others, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know what that is. You know, I'm like,
Right.
But as I'm sitting over there, I'm like, I need to try that salmon.
Gotta
I'm
try
eating a
it.
few
I mean-
bites, and I'm like, go get you that salmon. And finally, I'm like, okay, I got to get some salmon. So I just get a little piece, and I eat the whole thing, and then I'm like, you got to have more because that was unbelievable. I mean, it tastes like straight off the shores of Panama City Beach.
By the first quarter of the McLean game, with the score the way it was, he's like, you know what? If this game gets over pretty quickly with a running clock, we'll get me some more salmon.
And I was serious. I was dead serious. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was great. And all joking aside, man, thanks for the hospitality. And when I talk about other schools, I don't want people to think, oh, we got to bring the homers food to get them to talk about us. I mean, it would help.
It would
Don't get me wrong.
definitely help.
But no, that had nothing to do with it. It's just the atmosphere. It really is. I mean, in food, when you think about football tailgates, food is a part of the atmosphere, I feel like. And before the game, what I like doing is just walking back over there and seeing all the tents, all the families together, hanging out, having fun, and just getting ready to watch the Cougars smash, because that's exactly what they did. 62-6 over Ballard Memorial. Coming into the game, we're thinking, man, Ballard Memorial's pass offense is pretty elite. I mean, 2,800-yard passer, 36-something touchdowns, I think, from their quarterback. And McLean County's defense pitched a shutout. The only touchdown Ballard scored was a defensive touchdown. 62 points put on the board after 70-some last week. Just an unbelievable performance across the board from the Cougars. And really, I think they've checked off every box on their goal list this season.
We were worried about the passing game, like you were talking about, from Ballard Memorial coming into the game. Then when we arrived at Cougar Stadium there, we seen the size of them. And we were like, well, the Cougars' offensive line is going to eat tonight. And that's exactly what they did.
They were small.
Very small.
Don't get me wrong. That quarterback, Marinelli was his name, Eric Marinelli. Very good quarterback. Yeah. I mean, didn't have a lot of size, but he could throw flat-footed on a dime 60 yards. I mean, he had the flick of the wrist, kind of like a little reminiscent of Joey Cameron.
He's probably a kid, if he'd been playing at a bigger school, would be getting a lot of recognition.
I said it a few times during the game. I said he was reminiscent of Heath Simmons. You could tell that kid could have went to another school in Kentucky that's more known for football and got a lot more wins, but he's one of those guys that sit there and stuck it out with his guys. You love to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but across the board, McLean County Caraway, 207 yards on only 11 carries, went over 1,000 for the season, had 2 touchdowns. Noah Baldwin, 137 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. touchdowns. He also had an unbelievable play-action pass from A.J. Klein for 42 yards and a touchdown. Big Miller, 6 carries, 62 yards, right at 10 yards a carry. Didn't get in the end zone, but they had a really hard time bringing down the big man. 10 yards every time he touched.
He did go in for a 2-point conversion through the entire defensive line of Ballard Memorial. It was funny.
There
wasn't a hole there, and he just said, I've decided I'm going right there. There's nothing you can do or any of your teammates can do to stop me.
Caps killed him off the edge all night long. He had 2 touchdowns, one that was called back. It was an unbelievable run where he went sideline to sideline a couple times.
CAPPS, caps.
No, I like it.
The sign in the crowd.
The Cougar had it. The Cougar mascot had a sign like that.
We'll take on UK's Cats
That's
channel.
right.
I like that. I like that.
You got De La Cruz had a couple sacks, and then Corby Moore with his 5th pick of the season right there at the top of the area lead, and then had a couple hits in this game that I think some of those kids from Ballard are probably still feeling here on Monday.
I listened to the replay of the game, which you can find at Homer's Radio or anywhere you listen to podcasts at, and there's one hit by Dalton Eubanks that just elicits a natural reaction like we're sitting at home watching. It sounds like we just watched a car crash or a murder scene. It was one of the nastiest hits I've ever seen in high school.
Eubanks is a man. I've told the story before. I didn't realize how big he was until you get up next to him in person. You go, holy crap, that's a dude right there. And I could see him just obliterating.
It would be like if Rhino or Goldberg speared me. I mean, that's what it looked like. I mean, he hit the kid, and he literally drove him back 5 yards in the air before they landed.
You know those reverse tug-of-wars where they get people to stand back-to-back and strap a string to each of their backs and they run and one guy gets pulled? That's how this kid looked when he got hit. It looked like he got hit and went out of an ejector seat. He just went flying straight back. It was a textbook tackle.
It was so bad I didn't feel okay talking about it afterwards. I was like, I don't know.
The kid continued to play. So.
I don't know if I want to talk about the hit because it was so
you were traumatized,
so violent. I was like, I don't know what the line is here, but it was. Let's just say it was like a car crash.
Yeah, that's why we renamed Die Hard Hit Hard because Wagner's guys hit hard. We spoke of the quarterback for Ballard Memorial. They knocked him out of the game as well.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, man. It was. Man, they were teeing off. I mean, across the board, you could see they were out there flying around having fun. A lot of these guys knowing it's their last game at Paulson and just letting it all hang out.
Sure,
man. And I think it was a great night for McLean County football. I think Coach Wagner has started building that thing. We've seen it since we started doing the show. When he inherited that program, they had no wins. And now to take it to a program where they are now, kind of like what we saw with Coach Eubanks last year over in Hancock County, culminates with the home playoff win and a convincing fouls are fun. I mean, for the winning team, obviously. 62-6, rolling on. Now they get to go down to Mayfield and just play with house money at this point.
Right. It's supposed to be cold. It may be snowing. And you know what? Don't feel good in cold weather is playing that style of football against those guys.
Well, they're going to hit you.
That's something I think that's going to be the theme of our night when we get to our prediction section. Yeah. This weather that they're anticipating for next Friday, I was completely unaware of it until we had our UK football party. We won't talk about that. That went sour. But my parents were saying, hey, next Friday they're calling for possible snow. And I was like, no, Mom, I didn't know that. and then Ward brought up the games, and I thought, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. You start thinking about this offense, the physicality of McLean County, the finesse of Mayfield.
A low of 29 Friday.
Ooh, yeah.
Try to tackle Jacob Miller when it's 29 degrees.
War Memorial.
Or Caraway.
Or move that offensive line.
Oh, man. They do such a good job. So many well-designed plays. How many times do they go to the out? And I know Ballard was completely undersized, but before they even made contact, the convoys that were out in front of these rushers, I love some of these designed runs, and they do it so well, the McLean County Cougars. That's going to get us to our Cougar of the Week, courtesy of the #1 booster club in the tri-state area, the McLean County Booster Club, and the winner's going to be Stein and Eddie on the grill over in front of the gym getting it done. No, actually, the winner's going to be Noah Baldwin this week for what he does on the ground and through the air in the game. And he did on defense, too. He had a couple strips on the defensive side. It got to the point where I was starting to be able to identify who he was before I could even read the number, just because of the way he was hitting folks out there on the edge. Could have very easily went with a number of guys. Caraway was a monster in this game, but Baldwin really stuck out.
I thought A.J. Klein played well, especially on defense. We called his name numerous times. Think of him as the quarterback for McLean County. Man, he was out there putting some hits on some guy. You don't see a quarterback putting hits on opposing players like that too often. A.J. Klein was out there popping people.
And if we weren't obligated to give it to players, Stein and Eddie would be right there in the mix. I want to give them a shout out for working the grill, doing Big things over there for the pregame show. Let's go ahead and move it on now over to Rash Stadium, where Dave was raising some money for the OMS middle school team.
That's right.
In the meantime, the Owensboro Red Devils get the big 47-14 win, chomp the Gators right out of the playoffs. Will Warren threw for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trey Green, 77 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Monty Owsley reeled in 4 catches for 88 yards in a score. Trey Tinsley with the receiving touchdown. How about Jaden Greathouse with the big guy touchdown, scoop and score on the defensive side?
It was actually a strip and score.
Strip and score.
Yeah, he actually he came out and just took the ball. We worked a lot of that in youth football this year, but Owensboro came out. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They were up 40, I believe it's 41-0, or 40-0, whatever it was, and then they put the reserves in to start the second half. And the reserves didn't hold up their end of the bargain. You got to come through a little bit there. Back up JV team gave up 14 points to Greenwood starters. It's unacceptable. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a good night in playoff football when your only complaint is the JV team.
That's it.
Well, what stinks for Owensboro right now is Gavin Wimsett's banged up a little bit. He's a fractured clavicle, so he'll be out for a few more weeks. Now the good thing is it's not broke. So basketball season is obviously right around the corner. They're going to need him in that capacity. But Owensboro did what they're supposed to do. They got the job done. Everybody's healthy. They're good to go. The backups got some good reps in. I want to give a shout out to sophomore Lucas Howe. A lot of people are familiar with him from track season. He actually beat Monty head-to-head about 3 or 4 times this year. I think they kind of went back and forth with each other. Straight-ahead speed, Lucas Howe may actually be the fastest kid on the roster for Owensboro, but he's just a sophomore, and he's kind of been relegated to the JV team. But he was an up-back on the kickoff return team. He scooped it up. He got outside. It was over.
Talk about a loaded cupboard. You got a kid that may be faster than Monty Owsley and ain't even on the varsity team.
That's a good measuring stick. How fast is he? He's faster than Monty. That's impossible. Throw the measuring stick away.
Monty's better at getting from 0 to 10 faster. You know, he gets to top speed a little faster, and he's shiftier. But in terms of just straight ahead speed, you know, it's kind of like the Justin Miller versus Bo Smith comparison. Bo was the straight ahead runner, the downhill runner, and Justin was the elusive, shifty guy. And it's kind of the way I think you'll see that play out a lot over the next year. Freshman Javius Bird Taylor got in there, got some work done there in the second half as well. But all in all, not going to spend a lot of time on this game. Owensboro did exactly what they were supposed to do. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I got to see like this much. What you guys seen on our Homers Radio Twitter of this game is literally all I got to see. That was it, because we were out there raising money for our 8 All-American kids that are going to be going to Dallas, Texas to compete in the Brett Cooper All-American. They got a special shout-out at the half.
Yeah, raised quite a bit of money.
Raised several $100s. Big shout-out to Red Devil Nation for getting it done. And I also want to give a special shout-out because I messed up. I gave the PA announcer a script, right? You got to have a script when you read off the names and stuff. I left off my man, Jeremiah Goodwin, number 9 on our middle school football team. Poor guy standing out in the field. Everybody else got their name called. And he looks around. That's on me. I completely blew that one. I typed it up and completely forgot Jeremiah's game. But I'll pass the buck to Coach Brown, the middle school football coach, because I didn't have Jeremiah's jersey at my house. So I was flipping through the jerseys and I didn't have it. So I'm just going to pass the buck to Coach Brown.
That's what we do best here. Something's wrong, we try to blame somebody else.
Somebody else's fault.
Never our fault, right? Now let's go ahead and get to our Owensboro Player of the Week, brought to you by Greater Owensboro Realty and Darrell Vanover. Call him or text him at 270-315-0354, and the winner is going to be Mr. Trey Green. I'm a big fan of Mr. Green. I think he has really come a long way into the point where he's almost option 1A on this offense for the Red Devils. I think we'll talk about him a little bit as we get into the monster game this Friday night versus the Bowling Green Purples. As we'll move it on now over to Steele Stadium, where Owensboro Catholic 61, Webster County 15. I tell you, right off the bat, opening kickoff, Webster County.
I was wondering if you were going there. Yeah,
7-0 Webster County, and I tell you, it's so crazy because we saw that, and I was like, man, that's interesting.
Wouldn't like the Aces when they're angry.
And and then literally not more than 5 minutes of real time go by. I'm like, I wonder if Catholic scored yet. It's 24-7. Owensboro Catholic in 5 minutes of real time. I felt like
I had y'all's take on that when I saw that score. score because I saw it too on my phone when I was trying to update our Homer's Twitter, and I thought, oh, they just made them mad.
Oh, yeah. They did. That might have been a mistake.
That might have been a mistake.
At the end of the day.
Really angered Vaughn Williams.
Yeah, Vaughn, monster ball game. 4 carries, 105 yards. It's at 25 yards a carry, 25.3 yards a carry for Vaughn Williams, 3 touchdowns. He also got it done on the defensive side of the ball. I think a lot of people, maybe he might shift over to the defensive side
for
at
college.
The University of Louisville. 80-yard pick 6 touchdown, 4 total touchdowns in the game for Vaughn. I think Hart's only threw like 5 passes in the ball game, like 3 of 5. One of them was a touchdown to Hagen Edge, and late in the game, mop-up duty Mundy and McLean with the rushing touchdown for Owensboro Catholic, who do exactly what they needed to do. I know they gave up the early touchdown, but they got the clock running, like you said, right there near the end of the first quarter. And
I did see some highlights of this game, courtesy of our friends over there at Home Team Friday, and it looks like Catholic was running a lot of stuff under center in this game, so they were working on that power running game, which may pay dividends down the road. Because, we talked about this Friday against Murray. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Catholic, it may be cold. You may not be able to pass the ball. I think it was a good job by Coach Jason Morris to work on that power running game. And Catholic did not a lot to talk about here. They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Catholic's planning on playing a few more weeks, so it may get even colder, so that's a good idea to get that short work in.
Oh, they're playing to go state championship. That's what they want.
Especially whenever there's maybe a flaw in one of the power teams, which we're going to talk about later on.
Oh, okay.
And I guarantee you that Coach Morris is aware of it. And I think they might be working on the bigger picture. Let's go ahead and get to our St. Maximilian Colby Catholic Book and Gift Player of the Week. Give them a call at 270-689-9485. And the winner is going to be Mr. Vaughn Williams. Why not? Put the ball in the end zone 4 times. And I told Ward, I said, he might be remembering in September where he just missed September Player of the Month by a hair. And I think maybe he's got his eye on to maybe make that 4th Player of the Month to jump in there with Owsley, McKenzie, and Trevor Dyer.
November is usually a good month for the Aces.
Yeah. It is.
And our Player
really
of the Month winners.
We'll move it now up to a game I had my eye on from the very beginning, and disappointment looms here for me. Is Ballard 33, Davis County 7. Cameron to Baker cut the lead. It was 9-0 Ballard early. Davis County is able to cut it to 9-7, but they lost the services of Markwell Tinsley and Nally. It's hard to comment because we didn't see the play.
Yeah, apparently both benches empty.
Yeah,
and somehow in there they lose 2 players. But Ballard also loses Casey, who's committed to Oregon at the time. I know Kentucky's trying to flip him. He's a 4-star linebacker. But let's just be honest. You take Davis County and you take Markwell Tinsley off the team. That's huge.
It's different.
I mean, it'd be huge for anybody.
No question.
But that's a big loss for Davis County, and you're already without the services of Landon Newman. To me, this result feels empty because maybe I'm nuts. I think if Davis County was fully healthy, they win this game.
I said from the beginning, I believed it. I did a lot of research on Ballard, and I believe that Davis County played a clean game, that they're capable of playing. I think they win the game.
Well,
I think they could win the game.
What if Tinsley and Nally doesn't get ejected? I mean, it's 9-7. They legitimately could have won this football game.
And it was within reach till late in the 3rd quarter. Shout out to the Davis County defense. I feel like their defense kind of kept them in it.
Had a big goal line interception.
Yeah, much maligned all season. We talk about the Davis County offense. The defense is letting them down. Well, the defense kind of held their own and held them in the game till late, and then Davis County just couldn't generate yardage. And, I think they only had 100 yards at halftime, and then 55 of that came on one play on that touchdown. So it just unfortunate for the Panthers. I know there's a lot of folks over there who are going to look back on this season with disappointment, I think, just because of the multitude of talent. I tell you, football is not just about talent. You got to have things go your way. I mean, you really do. And things just never seem to fall in place for Davis County. The ball always seemed to bounce a little bit against them. Outside that week 1 game where they came back, after that, it just seemed like a lot of bad luck. Losing Landon Newman, of course, to injury, and then, of course, getting Tinsley tossed from a game of this magnitude. Obviously, backs are going to be against the wall.
I think the Newman injury was the biggest thing. We said it when he went down, and then I said it last week when we were making our predictions. I just thought he was too big of a cog for that team going forward last year. Look at what he did in the playoffs. It was the Landon Newman show. They leaned on him. You got to lean on the running game this time of year, and with him not being there, it's going to be hard to overcome. And then you lose the best receiver in the state.
Yeah, the best receiver in the state.
It's not exaggerating. He leads the state
statistically for the best receiver and talent. Probably
we talked about the their texts and stuff, Newman brought legitimate balance to this explosive, dynamic offense. You literally, with Landon Newman, with everybody on the field for Davis County, I'm not sure there's a team out there that really could have stopped them. You know what I'm saying? Now, you might have held them to 21, 24 points, something like that, but you're not stopping this offense fully healthy. And it sucks for Davis County because I believe if they're fully healthy, they beat Ballard. To me, you're never going to convince me otherwise. Oh, Clark, they lost 33-7. I don't care. I don't care what you got to say because Landon Newman on this team, Mark, defensively, what Landon Newman could have did in the Ballard game as well.
I think it reminds me a lot of the way Apollo's season ended last year, how they had the great run, and then
the injuries.
Peters goes down, and then they still play Greenwood very well. It just couldn't get over the hump in that playoff game. And I don't know with the run how long it would have continued, but to lose a playoff game that you probably would have won if you're fully healthy, that's kind of reminiscent of what I see here from the Panthers. Let's go ahead and get to our Davis County Player of the Year this time, brought to you by Black Diamond Pest Control. You can 270-282-8586 or 877-DEAD-BUG or online at bdpest.com. And the winner's going to be the aforementioned Mr. Landon Newman. Do it all for the squad. He only played 6 games. He had 900 total yards, 8 touchdowns, 37 tackles, and 2 interceptions done on both sides of the ball, and really was the silent leader, I feel like. Him and Cameron, but I feel like, Landon Newman, very deserving of the award.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever we thought about the Panthers going into the season, whenever we were talking about it, everybody knew what Marquell could do. Everybody knew what Cameron was, and we said that Landon Newman was going to be the one that decided how far the Panthers got because they were going to have to use him and and make people pay by running the ball, and just with the injury, they just weren't able to do so.
Yeah, I'll say this here because I'm not obviously going to say this at the award show in front of Von Williams because he's a large boy. But that first game of the year, I came away out of that game thinking, head-to-head, Newman got the better of him that night. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that one's better than the other or anything like that, but that night, it was Landon Newman. That night, it was Landon Newman. And what I just hate it for him. But to me, my heart goes out to Landon Newman. I hope that wherever he's going to college, do we know where he's going? I don't know if we know that yet, do we? Wherever he goes, you're getting a diamond in the rough, folks. You're getting,
I don't think he's really even scratched the surface. No.
He's come on over the last year and a half.
Yeah, remember he started last year hurt for 5 games. We didn't even know who he was.
Right.
And then by the end of the year, he had taken over. I mean, he was his. I feel like it was his team. And some people may say, well, what about Joey? Of course, Joey's great. I mean,
Joey's
what about
amazing.
Tinsley? Of course, Tinsley. I mean,
we knew that.
Yeah. But Newman, I feel like, was the cog. I mean, he was the heart and soul of the team.
The latest offer Newman has is from University of Pikeville. He's got a couple offers already, undecided.
He would murder it.
There's going to be some.
If we know our friends down at Lindsey Wilson well enough, they'll be offering soon enough.
And they're turning into a powerhouse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. As we'll move it on down to South Warren. South Warren 48, Apollo 0, and it was just a deal where, it's been that way all year. In the second half of the year, Apollo's offense struggled to find their way and playing, in my opinion, the best defense in the state in South Warren. I truly feel that this defense right here matched up versus any other defense in the state. I'm taking South Warren's unit, and they just held Apollo in check. And we didn't expect Apollo to win the game, but we wanted to see what they could do on the ground. I think South Warren dominated the line of scrimmage there, and rightfully so. They've got some big-time boys on that team.
I don't think anybody's been able to run on South Warren this year. Now, South Warren may get a little test this week. We'll see.
Hugh McKinley.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Dude, had 6 touchdowns coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And he didn't play. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But for Apollo, what was the score at halftime, Stephen A? Do you know what the score at halftime
30, was? Maybe 42.
Was it 40, 42?
Yeah, maybe.
And I didn't get to keep up with
the clock was running in the second quarter.
I just feel like with Apollo, the season, I felt like even those first few games, Mariano, was doing his thing. But I always feel like Apollo had a little bit of balance set it off. It's just enough of that passing game, whether it's hitting, I feel like at the beginning of the year they were using Kennedy a lot with those quick hitters across the middle. I know people were talking about Logan Weedman being that tight end threat. And I told you in those preseason, I said it was Dalen, not just because he's family, but he was producing. And we saw that early in the season. We saw Gage Hayden with the deep ball. For whatever reason, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think the Catholic loss was a stinger for them. They had Catholic on the ropes there, and then the Catholic had the monster third quarter, and just ball didn't bounce their way flat out, and they just never recovered from that. It just seemed like they go to the Graves County, and I don't know what happened there.
Apollo had zero business losing to Graves and Christian, especially the Christian. We saw that
one.
We saw it.
On paper, they had no business losing the Graves, none. And then on physical, I saw it with my own eyes. They had Christian County beat. I mean, they were the better team. There's no question, but they made tons of mistakes. Little mistakes in football, they will beat you. And Christian County is not a bad team. They just play Bowling Green pretty tight. Against those types of teams, you make those mistakes, you're going to lose.
I think that's what it was in the second half of the season. It was mistakes that set them back so far on the scoreboard. They weren't able to feed McKenzie over and over and over. In those first 4 games, it was the third and fourth quarter that he was really picking up big chunks. You remember we were talking about how he put on weight over the offseason. Sure. He was running through people instead of running around people. And then later on in the season, Apollo, their mistakes and shooting themselves in the foot had set themselves so far back. They had to pass more than they wanted to, and they could never establish late in the game just feeding Mariano McKenzie over and over and over and get that big offensive line going downhill.
I feel like Ward recognized that before anybody did. You've been talking about that since the beginning. If Apollo can stay ahead of the chains, ahead of the mistakes, and ahead of the scoreboard, they're going to be really tough for anybody to beat.
Yeah.
And we saw that against Evansville Mater Dei, that game number 1. They jumped out in front, and they would not let Mater Dei get control of that game. They made the defensive stops when they needed to make them. They got the first downs when they needed to make them, and they beat a team that made it all the way to the regional final over there in Southern Indiana. And so this Apollo team, it stinks because they had a lot of potential.
And that Apollo team in the Border Bowl beats Graves County and Christian County if they play that well by 2 or 3 touchdowns, and then they're probably still playing this season.
Yeah, I feel like it's a season of missed opportunities, just much like Davis County's season. I think Apollo's is pretty similar. I think they'll look back and see some missed opportunities in there, but I still think the program is heading in the right direction.
No doubt.
I would have taken 5-5, as the record.
And a 4-week run at number 1 in the Shelbyville entire top 10 teams. That would have been inconceivable 3 years ago.
That being said, it's not. You can't rest on that.
No.
Bottom line is they should have won 8 games. Period. And they could have won 9 if they at least competed for 9 versus Davis County, and then went in the playoffs. And then who knows? So they win 10 moniker at the beginning of the year. If Apollo handled their business the way cleanly, the way I thought they played last year, they played relatively mistake-free football last year, really clean, really tight, and this year got away from them, and I think it cost them. I think that
you go back and look at this schedule, every game this year, top to bottom. There was only 2 games this entire year where they didn't have a chance to win. Only 2. That needs to be the go for Apollo. Sure. It's like, you know what? We went 5-5. It's not good enough.
Yeah,
we're going to go back. We're going to go to work. We're going to get bigger. We're going to get faster. We're going to get stronger, and we're going to impose our will on every team that we're going to be able to do it to. I think that's the goal for Apollo.
No question. Let's go ahead and get to our Apollo Player of the Year by Heritage Park Preschool all season long. Big thanks to Heritage Park for coming on, sponsoring the Eagle of the Year. That's 3802 Legacy Run. Give them a call at 270-683-0611. The winner's going to be Mr. Quentin Miller, coming off an ACL injury, 72 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, and a forced fumble for Quentin Miller. And if you watched Apollo games this year, which we saw quite a bit of them, he left every bit of Apollo he had on the field. Man. I mean, we saw him walking. It was me and you, wasn't it? We saw him walking out of the Christian County game. The guy could barely walk to his car. Yeah. And, I mean, you could see on the field, he didn't leave an ounce out there. You could have gave this to a handful of guys, no question.
10 years from now, when I see Quentin Miller, I'm going to buy him a beverage for that night. Just for that night. 10 years. Now, I said it 10 years from now, so don't be going saying the homers are doing anything. 10 years from now, Quentin Miller's getting a beverage on me.
Yeah. There's a lot of time I look at tackle total numbers and kind of scoff at them because I think they're a little bit exaggerated. I think he might be undercut at 72. It seems like he had 15 tackles a game. Every game we called, it seemed like he was in on every tackle. Just a motor that never stopped.
Yeah. I would have liked to see Quentin in the middle. Like, you know what I mean, in defense. I'm talking as a thumper in the middle linebacker spot.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
They moved him around a lot this year.
Apollo had him playing outside a lot this year.
Yeah.
But
they moved him back to the line.
To me, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the defensive end spot there, yeah.
It's fun to watch at fullback. Remember that game?
Oh, yeah. Going downhill in Davis County was working like a charm, and I just, all in all, man, like, and Mariano's obviously got the nominee for Player of the Month, so Paul's got a few guys in the mix here that are going to win awards. But, I think Apollo Apollo this year, maybe even over the last couple of years, the mentality. Quentin Miller's first name really that comes to mind, just really left it all out there.
Logan Weedman might have his name on an award as well.
Yeah, we keep in mind. We try to. That's one thing to keep in mind too as we go through some of the awards. We try to honor the seniors as much as we can because those are the guys that really put the work in. I have no question Logan Weedman will be winning some awards before we're done covering him.
There's no doubt.
No doubt.
Might be a breakout star award this year.
No doubt. So we'll move it on to Hancock County down in Mayfield. Mayfield 56, Hancock County 28. But how about the performance?
How about that?
From Darian Clay in this ball game, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns for Clay. And, yeah, some of that did come in the second half, but I don't care. 281 yards versus Mayfield?
It's Mayfield.
That's impressive. This reminds me of when Hunter football went up and played Trinity a couple years ago, and all the Trinity people were saying, this Hunter Combs guy, we kind of thought coming in, people were, fluffing him up. He's the real deal. And I think Mayfield folks now know Darian Clay is the real deal. Ward said it last week. A couple of years, you better Mayfield maybe want to take notice of Hancock County.
I can't wait. Dude.
They already know.
I'm already counting down.
Clay.
Like I'm counting down right now. I can't wait.
That's impressive, man.
The thing when Hunter was over there impressing people, he was a senior.
Yes.
Darian Clay's a sophomore.
Yeah. For 281 yards, I don't care. I don't care who.
Hancock's fixing to be a problem.
I think
I'm telling you all right now, the Hornets. House insurance, boy, they did the right thing coming on board.
They did it at the right time.
They did it at the right time, baby. Because I'm telling you right now, they know what's coming too. Man, I think. Like
I can't talk.
I don't want to say like that they're going to win a state champ. I don't want to put that on them, But you think about the times of Travis Atwell and those runs of the late '90s and early 2000s, and the tradition. The Gooches are from Hancock County.
Yeah.
This football tradition goes back, and it is serious, folks. There are some very serious about football in Hancock County for years, and they're ready to get back to that level. I'll be frank with you. They're tired of seeing Owensboro Catholic win the district. They're sick and tired of it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this is interesting, no question about it. And even Mayfield, I read some quotes from some Mayfield coaches said, "Hey, this is the best team we played in the first round ever."
Yeah.
In 2A.
Yeah.
In 2A, this is the toughest first round matchup we've had. Now, granted, the score, obviously Hancock scored a couple late, but that being said, I think they showed well. I think at the end of the day, this is a program builder. I saw Coach Eubanks on Twitter talking about how the foundation's been laid, and I think it's going forward. This is something another block they can build on going into the next season.
This is the performance we wanted to see from Apollo against a team better than them. Just hang in there.
Yeah, that's
right.
Hancock rose to the occasion Friday night. You're right.
They really did. They didn't go down there and lay down. They went down there and turned some heads. Read about it on Bluegrass Preps. The Mayfield folks were talking about Hancock when the game was over, so that's nice. Very educated group of Mayfield fans for sure. Let's go ahead and get to our the Hornet Player of the Year, brought to you by House Insurance all season long. 75 East Wind Court in Hallsville. Give them a call at 270-927-8841. The winner's got to be Darian Clay, who may have the best numbers in the area. Anybody.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You talk about a guy who rushed for over 1,500 yards, 27 touchdowns on the ground. He also had 2 interceptions on defense, took 1 to the house, 48 tackles. He had 2 special teams touchdowns, and finished with a grand total of 30 total touchdowns in a game where you go in as a defensive coach on the other side and you say, we're stopping Darian Clay.
Sure.
Anybody else can beat us on the field, but we're not letting him beat us. And he still goes out and puts up 1,500 yards and 30 touchdowns.
To me, I've seen it. I feel like it's been asked to us, what about Darian Clay? You guys aren't giving Darian Clay enough love in terms of player of the month. And kind of the big thing that's held us back, I'll speak for myself, I don't want to speak for you guys, is that he hasn't had that huge performance against a quality opponent. Yeah. The 7 touchdowns may have came against Todd County or whoever, you know what I'm saying?
We were so upset whenever the Davis County game got called after the first quarter.
Right,
and that's another thing that's so impressive about those stats right there. He only played 10 total games and scored 30 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns a game average.
Yes. Yeah. And so
Insane.
We're kind of sitting there thinking like we know he's good enough. I mean, we know he's good enough. That's not the question. He needed to have that performance against a name opponent. There it is, folks.
Yeah, I think this is
there. It was.
And I mean, not just that. He's got a couple more years left.
And I wish that for him would have came in, what was it, September?
Yeah.
I think it was down to him and Dyer, right?
Yeah, him and Dyer and Vaughn.
And Vaughn, yeah.
They're all in the mix.
I wish this game would have happened,
Number one, I think big wins that you've been behind.
Right.
Is one thing we look at when it comes to player of the month. Number two, I feel like we do lean senior on awards.
We do.
Like
we do.
that.
Yeah.
I think we do lean senior because we know these guys are going to have more opportunities to win. Now, obviously, Darian Clay's unbelievable sophomore. I mean, we've been blessed with some freshmen and sophomore over the years that have just been unreal, and Clay's going to win some awards. I mean, let's be honest, he could buy a trophy case now and get it ready because I think the next couple of years he's going to be able to fill it up with awards.
I think Landon Board and Monty Owsley are the only two non-seniors to be even nominated. Out of the 4 years we've been doing it. So that's 16 in 1 year we had two because Sloan and Blair got nominated. So 17. Two I can think of right offhand.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind when we talk about our Player of the Month awards. We'll go ahead and move it on now down to Ohio County. Obviously playing St. X. Just a rough year for the Ohio County Eagles comes to an end. But I tell you, the seniors battle all the way right there to the end. And a great class to cover here on the Homer Show every week. Our Hustler of the Week brought to you courtesy of Dairy Queen at North Main Street, right there next to the high school in Beaver Dam. We'll go ahead and get to our Ohio County Player of the Year this year, and Mr. Caden Brown with the award. I think the Bulldozer.
What about this Bulldozer on the screen right now? How about that? With the OC logo on it. It's sharp, man.
Got the graphic with the nickname incorporated there into the Player of the Year, man. I tell you, between him and Ben Wood, two guys that define. I talked about McLean County, the environment defining Friday Night Lights. Those two guys right there really, as a players, define Friday Night Lights. When I look, because I follow both of those dudes on Twitter, and just to see them talk about what it means to them and stuff. Ben Wood's like, I don't know, he's like a Shakespeare when it comes to writing things on Twitter about football. This guy will make you romantic about football when he puts his post out there, and I can feel it, and it's playing his final games in the high school, something you'll never forget.
No, there's no doubt. And obviously we didn't want to see this game take place, the matchup and stuff, but at least the kids from Ohio kind of got to go play at St. X. I mean, that's I know the score is what it is, but just the experience of playing a traditional powerhouse like that, going up, they take that trip to Louisville.
Sure,
that's something they'll remember.
Yeah, Pickens put an article in Friday's paper about the kids having the ability just to suit up and go play in those types of games where you don't normally get it. That was an awesome article.
Think so.
Number one, and I think the kids take that to heart.
I think that's the way you got to look at it. You got to play the game, so let's just look at it as an experience.
And that's going to be much like the next team we'll talk about. Muhlenberg season comes to an end, 69-0. Louisville Trinity, obviously. I know their record doesn't show it, but they have played some unbelievable teams this year.
Well, they only lost by 1 point to Indianapolis Warren Central, who's like 9 in the nation.
Beat Bowling Green by about 160. So that tells you that Trinity, even though the record may not show, Trinity's down this year. Trinity's still got a pretty good shot to win a state championship.
They're still competing with nationally ranked teams.
They lost by 1. Yeah, so
they should as well as they recruit. So, hey, I ain't on Bluegrass Preps right now. I can say whatever I want.
We ain't going to ban you. We ain't going to lock your account down.
No.
Let's go ahead, man. Muhlenberg, we'll talk about Muhlenberg a little bit. The thing about them, they got a lot of guys coming back. So they have some stuff to build on. Not much take from this game, but I think over the course of next year with Healy settling into the quarterback spot, already having that under his belt going into next year, they'll have Drake as well. They'll have some guys next year, and I think this team will take a step forward next year.
My advice to those guys, to Winky and to Healy and some of those guys, go camp. Like, as soon as you can start camping, like at colleges, and I'm not saying go out and blow a bunch of money, but go out and get some good coaching at some of these camps, because I think there's some pieces for Muhlenberg. You look at what Davis County lost. Henderson's losing a lot. I ain't saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're in a good spot for next year.
I think they can compete. They're scheduled right off the bat. I mean, they open with. I'm assuming the schedule says the same. They open with Apollo. That's a game. All of a sudden you won that game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You can get back to that level. I think they can get back to that level.
It's gonna be interesting.
No question. Let's go ahead and get to our Mustang of the Year, brought to you by Sunshine Garden Center. Make your garden shine. Contact them 270-338-1261, and the winner is going to be Mr. Chris Cheney. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground, 3 through the air. Consummate senior, and every time I saw Muhlenberg this year, always involved in getting it done as a senior over there. One of the few that'll be graduating.
On the ground and through the air, you can't do much more since he's not the quarterback.
That's exactly right. He started the year as a running back until Drake was able to get 100% healthy, so he did everything he needed to do to help out his team and try to win games. And we'll close out our Player of the Year with a little bit of a heartbreaker. It's a close ball game on the road. There's Mercer County 43, Breck County 21.
Man, Man, this one broke my heart.
Yeah, and
broke my heart.
Breck hung in. I tell you, they scored some touchdowns, kept it within reach. Dyer with 12 carries for 60 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 14 tackles on the defensive side. But this is kind of how I think if you watched the show last week or listened to the show last week, we kind of all expected this to go kind of that way.
Yeah,
Breck would fight like they've done all year versus a team that's in years past. Let's be honest. Mercer wins this 55-0. You know, that's how far this program's come. That they've cut that kind of in half this year and battled them all the way right there to the end.
As we got a Player of the Year is going to be the Breckenridge County Senior. Is going to be brought to you by Parish Implement, 689 Broadway, chainsaws, blowers, trimmers, and outdoor power equipment. That's Parish Implement in Brandenburg, Kentucky. Those Breckenridge County Seniors getting it done.
Good job.
For the Tigers.
That's a great job.
You
did a great job. Well, the seniors did a great job.
You know what I'm saying? I felt like Vic Evans was pulling me out of the dugout there.
Yeah. No, I felt like I was on that show Dream Job on ESPN. You remember that show?
Yeah.
And they would slide them the shot sheet like right in front of them while they're trying to go to the rundown or trying to throw them off. And you stepped right in.
Clark was on it.
Like a tag team partner does.
He didn't say anything. He just read the look on your face and went.
I was reading down here. I was like, I don't know what that is.
I love it.
Anything in front of my face, I may read it. I don't know.
But seriously, what about that senior class, though?
Yeah, I think
look at the remarkable turnaround.
Yeah.
Coach Attell had a talk before we went on air, and we actually had Trevor Dyer listed as the Player of the Year. So we wanted to make sure that we got the seniors ready because we were like, Dyer's up for the Heisman. Let's get the seniors. The entire group that went off a winless season last year came in, put their head down, won 4 games. Let's give them some love.
Won 4 games, and they lost a couple where they were right in it. I mean, I think as a Breck fan, a Breck football fan that went to their game on Friday night, you were fully fulfilled in this season. I mean, you talk about taking John Harden, a game that I'm literally driving home from a game that Friday night. It pops up on my feed, the final, and I text both of you guys while I'm driving. I know you're not supposed to do it.
No, don't do that.
Don't ever do that. But it got my attention. I was like, that's
kind of fired you up a little bit.
John Harden, like that's very impressive. A team that Davis County only lost to by 1 or beat by 1 point. So that tells you the level of competition there. And Breck really got it done this year. One of my favorite teams this year to really watch from a distance.
Competed well against Grayson, who Grayson's still playing right now.
If it wasn't for Ohio County, then last year with the turnaround, this would probably be the most remarkable turnaround I've seen. And some of those Breckenridge County seniors got Jason Albright, number 11, Bailey Castor, number 3, Isaiah Kahn, 77, Trent Drain, number 32, number 35, Trevor Dyer, goes without saying, 15, Tristan Ferguson, 74, Donovan George. I like that name. It sounds like a player right there. Number 3, Joey Howe, number 81, Peyton Jaggers, and then let's see on the other side, number 54, Griffin Moore, and we got number 82, Jason Osgood, number 55, Hunter Payne. We also got number 65, Humberto Soto. I like that name. And rounding it out with number 80, Jacob Williams. And if we missed one, apologize because that was on the fly.
Dave is taking. I think if we could do a Homer's Player of the Week, I think Dave would just won it.
He's on it.
He took over the Breckenridge County. So great job.
That comes from the ODC games where we read off the roster. Yeah,
great. But hats off to Breck on a great season. Hopefully we can get the Tigers in the house for our award show. We want to try to reach out and get everybody we can to come out and really celebrate an awesome season. Yeah. And they were leading the way when you talk about awesome season. Now, there's a couple of weeks on this show where it got sideways on us, some bad results, but the Breck County results would always lift us up because those guys are battling. So we'd like to get them out to our award show at Legend Sports Bar here in a couple of weeks. But we'll go ahead and move it on now and talk about our Butler County player. I know we brought it up last week. We got our Player of the Year this week from Morgantown Bank and Trust, 208 North Main Street in Morgantown. Give them a call at 270-526-3881. The winner's going to be Michael Elmore, senior offensive lineman and linebacker, 43 tackles and interception. And I'll tell you, the teammates and the coaches handpicked that one for us. We didn't get to see Butler County at all this year.
Coach said he never came off the field for him.
Yeah, always on the field.
On the field, putting in work, you're pretty good chances you're going to get some props from the Homer Show.
Yeah, anytime. And you're not ever going to duplicate. I don't care what you look at in the stat sheet. You're never going to be able to define the effort. I mean, sometimes behind the scenes, we don't get to see it all, obviously. And to get that from your coaches and your teammates, he's a true player of the year for the Butler County Bears, who, once again, another program I feel like that'll be on the rise with the young
There's
folks.
no doubt. They're going to be a lot more improved next year.
And that'll bring us to our Inspector Gadget Score. We'll do something a little different. We're going to wrap up the segment with the Inspector Gadget Scoreboard because we'll close it out with a result I think we all saw coming. We'll start Inspector Gadget Scoreboard 503 East 18th Street with Caldwell 37, Edmondson 20. I gave a shout out to the Wildcats.
Oh, wow.
I wrote them off early in that game.
Wow.
Because they were kind of getting beat up a little bit. They came back late and made it very interesting. Caldwell's a good football team, so Edmondson battled them right there till the end.
That's a Caldwell team that battled with Mayfield for a while.
Sure, yeah.
Man.
Gritty performance in the first round. That's a team that didn't go lay down in the playoffs, and that's what you want to see. I think that could build on something for next year for Edmondson County.
It was cold. Canadians love cold weather.
They thrive in the cold weather, no doubt. And go down to Louisville Male 36, Meade County 0, but Meade County with didn't get blowed out. I
think that's respectable.
Respectable result.
Yeah.
And Meade County's going to fight you tooth and nail all the way.
That's arguably the best team in 6A right there, male.
They're good. 6A is going to be fun to see the outcome.
It's very balanced.
Yeah,
6A,
Trinity.
usually it's a one Trinity show kind of deal, but no.
Frederick Douglass, St. X, Scott County, and it's going to be some.
It's going to be a war.
Wild.
I may have to actually go to state championship this year.
It might be worth it. Usually it's one-sided, but I think this year you're going to have a nice championship. As we're moving on now, last but not least,
here it is.
Why I saved it for the end. Grayson County 54, Graves County 35, in a game that 3 or 4 weeks ago, we're on our way home from a game, and Ward said, "Oh, if Grayson gets Graves in the first round, Q McHenry's going to go for 5 touchdowns." It was 5, yeah. 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I thought, man, that's some big numbers, but it's possible. And then he goes out and he eclipses Ward's prediction, which is insane.
I'm telling you, I saw this Graves County defense firsthand, and I had zero doubt Q was going to run all over him. I just didn't think he would be 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
I thought it'd be maybe 4 or 5 on a good night. Dude put up 6.
And 357 on the ground.
Yeah. I mean,
he also caught a pass for 20 yards in the ball game.
He could have had 500 yards if needed.
I'll say he had 6-7 tackles in the game as well.
You know, to me, I know this is going to sound crazy, but for them to hold Graves to 35, I thought was pretty good. The Graves offense, as bad as their defense
and
is.
They didn't score that until later in the game.
Right. That Graves offense is really good on the flip side of that. So, to me, Grayson's peaking at the right time.
And that's what we said last week. If Grayson County's defense shows up, they're going to roll them. I mean, it's going to be their offense going to get theirs. If their defense shows up, they're going to win by a lot, and that's exactly what I didn't really expect them to hold them to that low. I thought it was going to be a little closer than this, but man, that's impressive as they roll into South Warren next week. Bullock also with the big game. He rushed for over 100 yards and 2 scores, and I tell you, Ed Smart's got that offense working.
Yeah, they do.
This is the best Grayson team we've seen, and that's counting the Talon-Gary team, which we were really high on. A couple kids play for Westland, Watermeyer, and those guys.
Talon-Gary, first ever Heisman winner.
That's right.
Yes.
Take it all the way back to the awesome dinosaur-like sound effects. But, man, Grayson County, very, very nice win. I tell you, talk about statewide chatter. Q McHenry's got it right now.
He's only a sophomore.
He's got
That's
it.
heard here first on the Homer Show. We said going into after the first week of the playoffs, Q McHenry's going to be the one that everybody's talking about in Kentucky. They are.
They are. And Bluegrass Preps has noticed, and they've definitely remembered the name, Q McHenry. And
sophomore.
Do it for the first segment, which we thought we could get in and out of the first segment in about 30. We're 52 minutes.
52. We're almost an hour into the show.
But we got a little less to talk about when it comes to predictions this week. Unfortunately, we only have 4 teams left standing. We'll break those down. We also have the All-GoReala team. Coming up with some fantasy studs right after the break here on the Homers Radio Network.
B.F. Evans Ford in Livermore is the area's only dealer to win the Ford Motor Company President's Award based on volume and customer satisfaction for 22 years straight. B.F. Evans Ford has focused on our customers and our community for over 65 years. Why buy from B.F. Evans Ford? Big discounts, top dollar for your trade, hassle-free buying, and award-winning service. At B.F. Evans Ford, we treat you like family. Visit us in Livermore, Kentucky, or shop online anytime at bfevansford.com.
Welcome back to the Homer Show, and it's time right now to jump into it. Let's go ahead and get into the fantasy studs this week for the playoffs, brought to you by Legends at 4431 Spring Hill Drive, just off Highway 54. And go ahead and jump into it. We only got 11 this week, but the 3 were tied for 9, so we went ahead and just put them all 3.
It's a good 3 to have tied. It kind of worked out.
It did work, and that's kind of the story of the Owensboro Red Devils this year is balance. I feel like not a lot of just one guy performances, a total team effort.
Sitting at the 9 spot, an OHS trio: Will Warren, Trey Green, and Monty Housley. That's a pretty solid combo, 20 points each.
Yeah, absolutely.
And about a quarter and a half of work, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it wasn't a full half.
Wasn't a whole lot.
Move it up to 8, the Catholic defense, 22 points.
They got him a defensive touchdown, which is huge in that ball game. Put some points on the board. Nice showing from the Aces D, and they're going to need it for the playoff run.
Yeah.
They're showing at 7 from what I've got to think is our fantasy defense of the year. It seems like they're in the countdown every week. The McLean County defense, 24.
They had a defensive touchdown, special teams in the mix there. Great job from McLean County.
With a near decapitation.
That's right. They gave up no points in the game. That was really the big lift for them. They pitched a shutout. Now, granted, there was 6 on the board, but it was a defensive touchdown.
So it didn't count against them.
Didn't count against the defense,
right.
Yeah.
And you have Trevor Dyer being Trevor Dyer, 26 points, checking in at the 6th spot.
Just a mundane day for him.
Versus a pretty good team in Mercer County. That's how you know the players are legit.
Yeah.
You get some of these guys that go out and they might put up these huge numbers and they get up against a good team, and you might not see them in the stat line. You're starting to see the guys like Dyer and Darian Clay do it versus anybody, and that's what proves to me they could play high-level football at the next level.
Talks about the OHS trio not having to put in much work to get their 20 points. How about Vaughn Williams, 29 points on about 6 plays?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And speaking of next-level football, high-level, Vaughn Williams going to Louisville, and I already saw, like I said, pay dividends on the defensive side of this game, and I think that may be where he'll play.
Vaughn might start next year. Louisville's
they're in bad shape right now. But the good news for Vaughn is I think they'll have some new guys maybe to work with. I don't know if Petrino.
I don't think they can buy Petrino out.
I don't know.
It's $14 million.
I don't think they can afford it. They're hurting right now.
Yeah.
Good news is Petrino knows how to coach if he could just right the ship.
Yeah.
Louisville might be hurting right now, but one team it is the McLean County Cougars, checking in at the 4 spot. Peyton Caraway, 34, going over 1,000 yards in the game, and then move it up to number 3, Noah Baldwin, 37.
Yeah, and you can go to Home Team Friday's Twitter page. I encourage you to do it and vote for Peyton Caraway Player of the Week. Home Team Friday MVP, first round of the playoffs. Pretty awesome. You look at the names he's in there against, Lindauer and those guys. You're talking about the cream of the crop. You know, Macho Man promo, cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah, that's the cream of the crop. If you got Peyton Caraway in the mix, that's a big honor right there.
Got another honor. We got some inside info. He may have another honor coming up from a 2A Player of the Year award. Hasn't been announced yet.
Big time.
Got some Calhoun insiders.
You got good food and insiders over in Calhoun.
I like it.
Move it up to the 2 spot. 2 sophomores at the 1 and 2 spot, putting up huge numbers in the playoffs. Darian Clay, 46 points versus Mayfield.
Yeah, and that was when I had his incorrect stats. So I corrected it on my sheet, but I didn't correct it on the guy who reads it.
Okay.
So as you can already see, Dave's one up me, now Ward's one up me. 57 for Clay.
Against Mayfield.
I had him down for 200, okay?
Yeah.
He went for 281.
Right.
So we got to throw those extras in there. Plus he threw for 25, so that's an extra point.
Guys, against Mayfield.
Never know the way that he puts up points. Those points right there might propel him to the number 1 spot overall.
Yeah, and overall for the season. You might be right. It might be that tight.
Those are important points.
57.
Against who?
But he's against Mayfield.
I mean,
against Mayfield.
Same.
But here's the funniest thing of all. 57, he's in second place. I mean, you go 57 in the NFL, you get a guy that scores you 57 fantasy points in the NFL.
You could have not woken up on a bye week, not started 3 guys and still win.
That's exactly right. But he's second. He's not even first because of the performance, a record-setting performance.
Of another sophomore, Q McHenry, 76 fantasy points, breaking the all-time fantasy record.
He's in the 70s, guys. 76. Listen, I can go through my fantasy league right now that people pay to be in, and their whole team hadn't scored 76 points.
I don't know if I've ever seen an NFL player score 76 in fantasy.
I don't know if I have. Well, of course, no one in the NFL's ever rushed for over 200 and something. Adrian Peterson's got the record at 242 or something.
And he hasn't even played in all of Grayson's games this year. There's been some games he did, like the
there's several.
we'll talk
South
about
Warren game.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. That's one particular game, but good Lord, it's absurd. It's absurd.
76.
Yeah.
Thanks, Graves County, for that record-setting performance by Q McHenry. What an effort theirs. And that'll do it for our Fantasy Studs, brought to you courtesy of Legends. Live show's coming up soon at Legends Sports Bar. Can't wait to get out there. And, of course, our live show will be live from Legends sometime middle to late December. I mean, we'll get you a date on that soon. We're working on hammering out. We got to get everybody on the same schedule. Which is always the most important thing, because without the folks that we're going to give the awards to being able to come, we
it's kind of hard to do that.
Right. We want to get them all in the house at the same time. As we'll move it on now, and a little something that we do every year here. We did it in the preseason. It's always fun to go back and look at the preseason versus the regular season. How about the All-GoReala team coming up? We'll talk about the players of the region.
Man, this was the most difficult one to put together so far. All the teams, like we said, were better this year, so there's so many stats. We almost had to kind of look at by the teams, and once we had 5 or 6 on the team that we've been pulled to try to go to other teams, because we got a lot of teams we're trying to fit in on the team. Some teams have 5 or 6 players represented. And they still have 2 or 3 that got snubbed.
Yeah,
McLean County and Davis County, right off the bat, they have 5 and 6 represented, and they still have a couple left off the list. It was definitely a difficult job. We'll start it off with Davis County. Their quarterback, Joey Cambron, be the starting quarterback for the All-GoReala team.
I feel like there'll be some debate on that one, because I feel like Catholic fans will be going to bat for their guy, and Owensboro fans will be going to bat for their guy. And you know what? Joey Cambron, I think his body of work, to me, puts him over the top.
Yeah, and I think with Hearts, we always defer to the senior. I mean, honestly, I think Hearts may have had a better year, maybe just as good a year. Just as good. I won't say better. Just as good a year. However, much like last year with Heath Simmons and Joey Cameron, we deferred to Simmons because he's a senior.
Exactly.
That's what happened this year. And I think maybe you'll see Hearts on the list maybe next year.
Cameron's a senior, and Davis County beat Catholic.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Moving on to Catholic. The starting running back, halfback, will be Vaughn Williams.
Yeah. The reemergence of Vaughn Williams, I feel like, this year.
He went back to sophomore Vaughn. That's what happened.
Yeah.
I think he's the most complete back on the field. There's an article up for anybody listening to this. It's got a rundown of all the selections and why we selected him. I think he's the most complete back. He never has to come off the field. He can do everything. He can catch. He can run. He can block in the passing game. Just an all-around back.
He's the most college-ready player.
Sure. Yeah.
Moving on to Mariano McKenzie will be halfback 2 on the team.
Yeah. Mariano was shot out of a cannon to open up the season. Man. Put Apollo on his back.
Literally at the Wright's bow, he shot out of a cannon all the way down the sideline for 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and he won Apollo some games earlier in the year, and those wins look really valuable now. I mean, we talked about earlier. I think he would have had an even bigger year if Apollo could have sustained more success offensively. I think the fact that they got behind and the mistakes hurt his ability to run the football too. Because when you're down 4 scores in the second half, three scores in the second half, you just can't run the ball.
I feel like it was 3 weeks ago we saw him running down the sideline at the Wright's bow. It's already been like a few months.
And the funny thing is, we saw that run to open that game, and we looked at each other like, wow. Like, wow.
I was like smacking Steve on the arm.
I mean, that was
as he was running down the sideline. I'm sure they hated us.
You're not dreaming, Steve.
It's really happening. What a performance.
Another player that'll make you say, wow, our starting split back, Monty Owsley.
Yeah. Not enough superlatives, really.
To me, and I'm going to write an article for the website here pretty soon, because I want to compare Monty to Wandale Robinson, who just committed to Kentucky over Ohio State and Nebraska. He's from Frankfort. And I also want to throw in along the lines of Rondale Moore, who is at Purdue right now.
Rondale and Wandale.
Yeah, Rondale and Wandale. I know. But if you look at Monty, he's built like those guys. He's 5'7", 5'8". He's shifty. He's kind of electricity on every time he touches the ball. A little undersized and maybe overlooked a little bit. Monty is, to me, the most overlooked player I've ever seen.
Insane, yeah.
The fact that he doesn't have a litany of Division I offers right now blows my mind. It just blows my mind.
I don't know what the secret is to that, but that's something that needs to be remedied for sure, because I don't want to see him fall through the cracks and not get that offer at a big name school, because I think in the right spot, man, this kid could be doing what Rondale's doing for Purdue.
The plan's already in place. He's going to be camping everywhere.
Yeah, he'll get seen.
He'll get seen.
Talent like cream rises to the top. Like
cream
says.
Yeah.
Move it to another split back 2 on the team will be Mr. Owsley's teammate, Trey Green.
Yeah.
Underappreciated.
I said it last week. He's the most underrated guy in the area.
I think so.
I think because, you know, people think Owensboro. You even talk to Owensboro fans. Give it to Monty.
Give it to Monty.
45 times a game.
We're going to make Owensboro great again. Give it to Monty.
Well, I think Trey Green deserves the credit, man. I think he's done well with what he's been given and excelled in that area.
To me, having that other option there, especially in the backfield where Trey can take those big hits early in the game and Monty doesn't have to absorb those blows, it's everything, man. Trey, people don't realize when you hand the ball off to Trey in the first quarter against a fresh defense, he's taking the brunt of the punishment and still going. And it sets up Monty for the big plays.
Moving on to our 2 fullbacks. Ain't nobody stopping us on the goal line. Jacob Miller from McLean County and Caden Brown from Ohio County.
Yeah.
Good luck stopping that for 2 yards, either of them.
Yeah.
Bulldozer and Bobcat.
I like it.
I don't know.
Like it. That's
trying to think of industrial power equipment.
I called Miller the what do I call him? The Cougar Bruiser.
Yeah, I like it. I like it
on the website.
Yeah, them are dudes right there.
Moving on now to the wide receiver spot. Started off with Tyron Hayden from Owensboro.
Mr. Consistency. I feel like, you know, he's had a few drops this year, but every wide receiver is going to drop some passes. But I feel like he's a consistent factor in the offense.
Yeah, well, I've been talking about him since I saw him at the beginning of last year, just the size and the ability. And now he's in that passing offense, and he's really starting to break out.
Moving on to Nick Mills, wide receiver from Owensboro Catholic, does it all for the Aces.
He's the Catholic prototype Wes Welker, Julian Edelman kind of guy.
I actually talk about that in the article. As much as he does compare to Welker and Edelman, I think he compares more to Steve Smith from Carolina Panthers. During Steve Smith's prime, they look for him for big plays on special teams and on offense, and Nick Mills even does it on defense for the Aces.
And one thing about Mills is no matter who Catholic plays, and they play some big dogs, I know that they outmatch some of their teams they play, but he does it versus the big dogs too.
Oh yeah, he did it versus South Warren.
Yeah, and that's what stands out to me is there's no team that can slow him down, and that to me
he got a step on South Warren's DBs and they didn't catch him.
Yeah,
how about that?
That's it. That's what you need to know. That's one of the best I just said it. It's the best defense in the state
in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Moving on to Blake Baker, wide receiver from Davis County, another do-it-all player.
Yeah, there's not a Davis County game you watch that Blake Baker's playing in where he doesn't make an impact.
To me, he's just like Trey Green. He's underappreciated, undervalued. I think, you know, we talk about Newman and Cameron Tinsley, rightfully so. Man, but Baker's the dude that made Davis County. I mean, outside of Newman, we talked about Newman, but I feel like, you know, Tinsley's always getting that double team on the outside, and Baker, it never failed, dude. He's either hitting the middle seam or the drag right across the middle, wide open every single time.
Yeah, when Tinsley went out of the game the other night, 55-yard touchdown to Baker.
Over the middle.
Even when he was drawing the attention.
They threw him a slant. He leaped a guy tried to take his legs. He leaped over him. Gone.
Had his best game maybe in high school versus the state champions in Memorial last year in the Border Bowl.
Did well Central this year as well.
Yeah.
Big-time player. And then we'll finish up the wide receiver crew with, I'll read exactly what I got written on the website. Markwell Tinsley of Davis County, the most talented wide receiver in the entire state, led the state in receiving, maybe the best wide receiver ever to play in this region. Enough said.
I would not debate that.
He's the best receiver I've ever seen in this area.
Yes.
From a pure talent standpoint,
he's got it all.
He's a freak. I mean, it's
anything you could want. You create a guy on Madden or whatever you want to do your gamer create. He's the dude.
Yeah.
He's big, he's strong, and he's fast, and he catches and he breaks tackles. There's literally nothing he can't do.
Yeah. He's in a good going to a good situation where I think he'll thrive.
Again, we look at Western Kentucky Hilltoppers in a dumpster fire. How do you let that kid get away? How do you not go down to Davis County and say, "Come, we got you a position tomorrow. Let's go."
He'd be starting as a freshman. I feel like.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Better be. Yeah, the best wide receiver on the team from what I've seen.
Yeah. For sure.
Moving on to the offensive line now. We'll start it off with another Davis County Panther, Noah Gatton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Consistent.
Put in the article that John Nally, of course, when we've said it numerous times, we try to find the seniors on here to pick. Nally, a sophomore, dominated the entire season. He's going to make a couple of these lists for sure, but we wanted to get the senior some props. It seemed like that him and Cameron had a real chemistry together. You always seen them together. Anytime you see a picture that they had taken in pregame or anything, they're always right there beside each other.
Yeah.
And then it also seemed like Gatton knew what Cameron was doing behind him without having to look. He knew where to take his blockers to know where Cameron was going. You can't match that chemistry.
No, absolutely not. And I think Davis County's offensive line was solid all year.
Very good.
When you watch Davis County, you very rarely see Cameron under any kind of pressure.
Nope.
Moving on now to big DC Boone from Apollo.
I sent him a tweet. I knew he was down after the game the other night. To me, and Hunter Bivens played there, and I feel like – I think of Apollo offensive lineman 10 years from now. Yep. I will think of Hunter Bivens. Obviously, he played at my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but I'm going to think of DC Boone. That guy is a monster.
I'm going to miss watching random defensive linemen just go flying during Apollo game. Oh, DC got that one.
And I'll tell you, go back and watch the Catholic game from last season and watch DC Boone. I mean, it might be the most textbook offensive lineman game you're going to see, and that kid was just mauling folks out there.
So talk about a mauler. Moving on to my guy here that I picked after watching all the McLean County sports coverage, Zarek Wedding from McLean County. That dude,
judo throw.
If you've got matched up with him, you've got a fight from the first snap of the ball game until the game is over, and you better watch him in even the after game because that dude loves to play football.
That's my kind of guy right
He's just a nasty lineman. He reminds me of John Runyon, one of my all-time favorite NFL players.
John Runyon, man, that's nice.
Wow,
just getting it done. That's a big time comparison right there, and absolute mauler.
Kid's a house, man. He's a house.
He is.
Moving on to another house for McLean County. Full-grown man who put one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in high school football on last week. Dalton Eubanks from McLean County.
Yeah, Eubanks. I think that was a big, nice exclamation mark. My final game probably getting to see him play.
Sure.
It was a nice exclamation mark.
So we got the two strongest kids in the state on our offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, literally. They finished one and two in the state powerlifting championship.
No doubt. And the proof's in the pudding,
so don't add us on this, man.
Yeah.
Like, we got the two strongest dudes in the state.
Going off what the facts are. Those are facts.
Straight facts.
Then our final lineman will be Jordan Puckett from Owensboro Catholic. Played the majority of the season at defensive line, but our defense was so stacked. And the impact that he had whenever he came back in week 3, I don't know if it was 100% him. I'm sure it was other guys. Of course, Noah Todd got moved back into the defensive line. But whenever he came back on the team, they were struggling on offensive line and defensive line. I think he provided great help immediately on defense and depth on the offensive line. So I wanted to get him a spot on the team.
I think, because it to me, it shored up everything Catholic needed up front, and because like Ward said, Aces were struggling.
First 2 weeks was rough.
It was struggling up front, and then Puckett walks back onto the team, and all of a sudden,
a different team,
completely different team. So you gotta, when you got that much of an impact, you got to find a spot for the kid.
No doubt. He won a Player of the Week award.
Yeah.
Had a big man touchdown.
Yeah. Moving on to the defense, talking about big man, how about the nose tackle, Jonathan Stephanopoulos?
Yeah. Well, just calling the games, the Central game immediately comes to mind. The McCracken game, obviously games where they, didn't get the wins, but this young man's out there just dominating the line of scrimmage. And I thought the Apollo game, when the chips were down, and Apollo was ready to seize momentum as they were running straight downhill.
Might be the biggest play of the year
for Davis County. Yeah, to retain that City County, 4th down and a half a yard, and Stephanopoulos blows the entire play up. In a game where they were being dominated on the ground.
Apollo was dominating them, and it was a 4th down, and Apollo went for it, and Stephanopoulos blew that play up like he was in the huddle and knew exactly what was coming. I think that might have been the biggest play of Davis County's season.
Yeah.
Is there a more physically imposing player than Jonathan? I don't think there is. I think he's the big. I mean, I know we got some big guys, but just imposing.
That's why he's Thanos on the.
He is Thanos. He is Thanos.
Only a junior coming back next year. Moving on now to aforementioned Noah Todd.
Yeah, we talked about Vaughn Williams' resurgence, and I don't want to say Noah Todd or Vaughn, either one had down years last year, but I remember them as sophomores just wreaking havoc.
Sure.
I think they did take a slight step back a year ago, but man, he's going to be in the mix. Noah Todd, for me, is in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. In the games I've seen, he's been an absolute difference maker and a monster out there.
Against Owensboro, they couldn't block him.
Yeah,
he destroyed Owensboro in that game.
Yeah.
He ended the game with a sack, and he was in the backfield so much. Will Warren had to think he had to have a flashback and think he was on his team still.
He had a huge game versus Apollo as well, Noah Todd. He's a great player, and I tell you right now, he's not done yet.
No,
he's going to have some opportunities coming up here in the coming weeks to put his stamp on the Owensboro Catholic program in a big way. I feel like it's right there on the doorstep.
Another defensive lineman will be Carson Brooks from the Owensboro Red Devils.
Stud, man. He's gotten it done on both sides of the ball this year for the Red Devils, and he's just a strong kid. I mean, he's not the biggest kid out there, but he's just very strong, and his football IQ is through the roof. I mean, he's a kid that he's not going to give up his ground.
He knows his job.
He
I mean, you
does.
could go all the way back to the Legend Show before the season started, and his interview was the best.
The best.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, it was great. All the kids were great. I mean, literally all the ones we had on there were great, but I still remember his because just the things that he said just stuck with me, and I'm like, that kid knows his job.
He was very professional. It was almost like an NFL, like he just was very factual, very professional. He knew what his role in the team was.
Yeah, and you could see that, and I think it shows when you watch him on the field as well.
Round out our defensive linemen with a pair of Apollo Eagles, Quentin Miller and Logan Weedman. That was the right answer.
Yeah. You got 8 sacks from Miller and 17 from Weedman. So
there's no debate.
What a performance from Weedman. I think a lot of people going into the season thought Weedman was going to be exclusively, a tight end. And here he comes out of the chute and just dominates. He dominated this at points during the season.
He was the tight end on our all-region preseason team.
Yeah.
Switched over to defense.
Had to get him on there because he has the big offer from UK, and I think he will flip it over to the other side of the field and keep the high-level offers coming.
Maybe that's his future at defensive end. Who knows?
And we got a good one to learn from in Quentin Miller, who, like I say, we talked about him earlier with the Apollo Player of the Year. Really sets the bar when you talk about what an Apollo player, what you look for when you talk about an Apollo Eagle.
Moving on to the linebacking core, which was probably the most difficult selections of the entire team. Started off with Nicholas De La Cruz from McLean County.
I have a handful of guys that are my favorite players to go watch them call when I'm calling a game. De La Cruz had moments this year where he was unblockable.
Yep.
I mean, I think it proved at the beginning. His first half of the season was as good as anybody, offensively, defensively. I don't care who it is. The way he stuck out. Now, granted, it kind of got to him in the grind, but he had 2 sacks the other night in the game, and it just seems like he flashes all the time. And he's a kid that was left off our preseason team, and now worked his way on to the end
production.
Of the season team.
You have the production. We're going to find a spot for you.
No question. He's got plenty of production.
Speaking of production, linebacker Trevor Dyer from Brett County. Production everywhere.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know Trevor Dyer was, I didn't know him that well before the season.
I didn't know him.
We talk about him every week on the show. He's a name on a piece of paper to us in the preseason, and now at the end of the season, watching a little bit of the footage of him and just seeing the impact week after week after week on a program that he's trying to help build the foundation for, to me, maybe the most valuable overall player to his particular team is of anybody in the area.
Moving on now to a pair of Owensboro linebackers to round out the linebacking crew, Austin Goff and Jordan Sorrells.
I'll let you talk about Sorrells, but I'll say Goff. We had 2 guys on the goal line, right? The bulldozer and the caterpillar.
We got 3 now.
This guy right here, if you want to use him as a linebacker, that's cool too. But if any one of those guys can't go in for any reason whatsoever, I have no problem giving the ball to the goal line back, the Ultimate Warrior linebacker, Austin Goff.
Yeah, he does it in a little bit different way than those other 2 fullbacks. He's more of a quick hitting power, just raw strength kind of kid, and he kind of does it with his explosive ability. But everybody knows about Austin Goff by now. He's obviously a Brett Cooper All-American 2 years ago. And with Jordan Sorrells, that was the name I kept hearing in the preseason for Owensboro. This Sorrells kid, watch out. He's going to be a player. Well, the first couple of games, we didn't see him. Matter of fact, if I could be wrong here, but we really didn't see a lot of Jordan Sorrells until after the Catholic loss.
And then what happened to their defense, though?
It got significantly better.
That's
when
exactly
the switch came on.
That's exactly why I made the pick and put him on there, just like I was talking about with Puckett. Whenever he came in, it just like a different defense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The fact that he was on the bench, it's just like, Ward talked about, I talked about Lucas Howell running the kickback. He said, that's absurd. Have a guy that barely. That was Sorrells at the beginning of the year.
Cupboard is stocked. I mean, it's stocked full.
Moving on to the defensive back Maxes will start it off with Gage Hayden. I think he's been the best cover corner the last 2 seasons, so it'll be cornerback 1.
I tell you, I know the Apollo season didn't go the way that I had hoped it would.
AKA the clamp god.
And I know it did. I like that. And it didn't go the way the Apollo people wanted across the board. But, man, this senior class is going to be missed. Now, you think of the senior class, you can't think of just 5-5 or 5-6 with the playoff law. You got to go back to last year where the whole program changed. I think Nick Brooks put it on his Twitter about how don't just look at 5-5, look at last year too, and look at where they were the year before that.
Sure.
These guys right here, this group had a huge hand. You know, Nick Brooks and Peters, obviously both Peters had a big hand in it too, but this senior class was the foundation.
I think so.
And to lose these guys, Gage Hayden, I'm going to miss watching him play. Him and Marquell Tinsley have had one-on-one matchups that have just
high level.
Oh, unbelievable. And I talk about all the time to you guys behind the scenes, high-level football. I love watching the high-level football. That's a high-level matchup. Gage Hayden is a high-level cornerback.
It's a college
One of the
matchup.
best we've ever seen.
It's a college matchup on a high school field.
It is. Yeah.
It's literally written in the article here at homersradio.com that I was talking about. You can check out the article about every player selected. It says, Hayden versus Marquell Tinsley of D.C. is a heavyweight matchup that you could be seen taking place on Saturdays watching NCAA, and that's not hyperbole. That's facts.
Straight facts.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna miss his teeth brushing picture. Every Friday morning, I get on our Homer's Facebook, and he's always got the picture of him brushing his teeth. I don't know why. I just loved it though. It was great.
Tradition.
It was tradition.
It's like how nobody knows why we play the Hart Foundation theme for Edmondson.
That's right.
It's a tradition.
I'm gonna miss it.
Moving on to a Catholic ace that, man, I think he's been playing some stellar football the entire season, offensively and defensively. Had to get him on the team, Jace Kessler.
Yeah, that's a kid we didn't know at the beginning of the year.
Man, I had no idea who he was.
We just knew he was the new number 2.
Yeah. And
Catholic. That
usually it means you're good. That's right. That's right. He did it on both sides of the ball, though. Yeah. The defense he played in the Memorial game, I think, was second to none. And then the big game he had against Owensboro, my goodness, he came. I mean, he just got it done.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, he's a baller.
Yeah. Even when he got beaten that Memorial game, he couldn't have played it any better.
No,
it was because he was just outsized, and they textbook coverage.
Another Apollo Eagle, Sam Parham, checks it. He seems like he makes the big play. Anytime Apollo needed an interception the last 2 years, it seems like Sam Parham got that interception for him.
Yeah, he's Mr. Pick 6 last year.
And he kind of turned into their offensive deep threat toward the end of the season as well. I know he had a big touchdown against Christian County, if I'm not mistaken. And, man, it's hard to believe that he's already graduated.
Yeah, I remember seeing him as a sophomore.
We're like, give him the ball.
Give this kid the ball. Run this kid more. Like, he deserves the football more. And
we're in Muhlenberg County, and they were like, why is he not touching the ball?
Give him the ball. He's electric, you know. And then he changed his entire body type really to fit more of the safety linebacker position.
He did change his body type big time.
And I tell you
he was skinny then.
Yeah. That dude will do anything for his team. Anything they asked him to do, he had no problem doing. He put in the work to do it well.
And ball hawk. I think 5 picks is what he ended. Him and Kessler and Corby Moore all with 5 picks. Yeah.
Yeah, Corby Moore was the one that I was talking about. McLean County had so many people. We had to leave some off. Caps probably been on there. Monster could have been on there. There was so many guys from McLean County. When you run 9 guys and average about 600 yards a game.
We can't put everybody on the Gorilla team.
Gosh. Moving on now and round out our
good names, though.
Round out our defense with maybe the best offensive player in the entire region, Darian Clay, going to be our defensive back because 75% of the time that he gets an interception, he houses that interception.
That's right.
And we saw him in the McLean County game multiple times make the big stop. I mean, he's as advertised on defense. You remember a guy, Rex Henderson, known for his quarterback skills, but when I watched him play, I always said, man, he stands out as a DB.
That's right.
You watch Darian Clay, very similar. Explosive offense, sure, no doubt. That's what, the popcorn's for, but the hard-hitting plays at safety, Darian Clay was always around.
And that may be what could possibly put Hancock over Mayfield here in a couple of years.
Might be.
Just saying.
Might be.
Moving on to special teams now. The kick returner going to be Noah Baldwin from McLean County, another guy that we could put on special teams, offense or defense. I think I put him here because whenever he gets in space, that's one of the hardest players to catch I've ever seen whenever he gets just the crack of space to run through.
There's not a McLean County game I've done, win or lose, that he hasn't had an impact in.
Sure.
And that's simple. That's why he belongs on the team.
He's electric.
Moving on to the punt returner. We traditionally try to only have the sponsored teams players represented because the sponsors are who actually pay for these awards that we give to the players on the team, but I'll pay for this guy's award if need be so we can get him on there. Q McHenry going to be on the roster.
special things happen when he touches the ball. And
you can put him on defense or offense.
You can put him anywhere. You can put him at tight end. You can put him at fullback, put him at quarterback. It don't matter. Yeah, you're right. He's got to be on this team. I mean, he's just special. And I think we're going to see that maybe this Friday, but we're definitely going to see it over the next 2 years.
Sure.
Round out the special teams with another pretty special athlete, one we don't see too often in the caliber at this position, Wes Knott from Apollo, doing the kicking duties.
That's what I was, I hadn't seen the list, and I think we had texted, but Wes Knott for sure, man. I mean, that kid, he had a nice leg, man.
Yeah,
he wound up getting hurt, though, right?
At the end of the year. They lost him, but I'll never forget. There's certain plays over the time that you never forget. I mean, we even kicked around doing a show where you got together. Sumner even texted me. He's like, you and Dave need to get together. You always talk about these old stories and put some together. Well, 10 years from now.
Oh, you mean like 10
years from now, I'll still be telling the story about the end of that Graves County game where Wes Knott comes in. It looks like everything's against him. He's about to kick. You get moved back, a timeout, just weird things going on. He still walks out there and drills it for the win. And a huge district win. And he was consistently one of the best kickers we've seen since we started doing the show.
I feel bad for our last 2 years. Our kickers have had terrible luck. Nick Brake, by far the best. Jocks his leg up. Wes Knott, by far the best. Jocks his foot. It's like, come on, man. We got to get some
soccer guys. I
guess so,
that's what it is,
And to lead the team, the head coach is going to be from McLean County, Zach Wagner, a.k.a. John McLean.
And his special top assistant is going to be Brent Huttel. Because both of those guys, I mean, Wagner has built and orchestrated this turnaround for McLean County, and for them to have that home playoff game as a reward and a enormous, just a fantastic opportunity against Mayfield. I mean, what more could you ask for? And I even got to give Coach Huttel a little shout out. Obviously, I'm on board with Coach Wagner, but Huttel, man, the job he's done, insane.
No, there's no telling how much extra time he puts in just off the clock at building this thing behind the scenes, and that's Coach Wagner too. I mean, you have to start somewhere. You have to build this thing, and that's not a shot at these guys like Mr. Fallon right here, who I feel like completely revamped the team mid-season. Where things look like they could go the other way, but they didn't, because I think he adapted. And guys like Coach Brandon, who took a Davis County team that just wasn't on the – I mean, there's so many – we look around the list, Coach Ganaway over here. I mean, there's so many guys that we have. We have some great coaches.
Yes, we do.
In this area.
We do.
And then Coach Jason Morris, who steps into the biggest shoes ever. I mean, let's be honest. We didn't know how it was going to go.
No.
I mean, and
after 2 games, everybody's like, oh, man.
Oh, what have we done?
And Jason Morris is like, hey, I got this.
Calm down.
Like, slow your roll. Right. I got this. And they've had it in a big way.
And that's why we can't. The Coach of the Year is still up for grabs, because we don't know what's going to happen. One of these teams may win a state championship.
I think the reason Wagner got put on there, aside from just what the team has done, looking at whenever he took over, 0-win program, and then we were just there Friday night. He's got the parents, he's got the staff, he's got everybody on the same page. Yes. You never hear any McLean County parent or fan or staff member complaining about who gets the touches. You look on our social media sites, the McLean County fans are just as happy as if their second running back gets the award as if their own relative gets the award. They're supported. It's just a complete team effort all the way around, not just the guys on the field. It's a complete effort all the way around in Calhoun.
We always get we'll get the
culture.
We'll get the occasional message of, why don't you give this kid love? Why don't you give this kid love? Why don't you give this kid? And it's happened from, this is a lot of different teams.
A lot of different teams.
I've never heard it from McLean County.
Not once.
Not
one time. Not one time. And that
and everybody is pulling in the same direction.
It's a culture.
McLean County.
That's right.
Very much a culture.
And he's done a great job in building it over there, no question about it. And it goes on. Now there'll definitely be a little bit of a reset button hit when their season does come to an end. But I think it'll just start over again. Kind of like Coach Eubanks. He had to hit a little bit of reset.
Yep.
Going back the other way. And that's another coach you can mention in that list. That's what Coach of the Year. I mean, you can go
Coach Eubanks is sitting back waiting on his Coach of the Year award.
He's ready.
It's coming.
He's got Munster, Caraway, and another Baldwin coming up next year. I think he's going to be pretty good.
We talked about the JV, right? They put 21. They put the JV and they still scored 21.
McLean did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They had Caps in there with them, but overall, I mean, the mostly JV unit still putting it on them. But that'll do it for our All-GoReala team. Go to homersradio.com and check it out. That article up there for every player mentioned. So many many great players to cover this year. And, hey, it's not over yet.
It's not.
Because we still got 4 left to talk about. We'll take a quick break, come back, and break down the 4 remaining playoff games. Give some predictions, courtesy of Roads and Roads and the Homers Radio Network.
BF Evans Ford in Livermore is the area's only dealer to win the Ford Motor Company President's Award based on volume and customer satisfaction for 22 years straight. BF Evans Ford has focused on our customers and our community for over 65 years. Why buy from BF Evans Ford? Big discounts, top dollar for your trade, hassle-free buying, and award-winning service. At BF Evans Ford, we treat you like family. Visit us in Livermore, Kentucky, or shop online anytime at bfevansford.com.
Welcome back to the BF Evans studio. That's BF Evans, Highway 431 in Livermore. And give them a call or visit them, 270-684-62 or 6268.
Yeah, say that 3 times fast.
I'm looking at your tweet over here, Dave.
Yeah.
Before we get into the playoff games,
got to mention. Just wanted to give a shout out. Last night's exhibition game, Eric Holman. Obviously, we've been keeping up with him so much over the last couple of years. But last night, Mississippi State played Georgia Southwestern. It was their first exhibition game. Exhibition season is in full swing now for the Division I programs, and I kind of wanted to give Holman a special shout out. Not that he needs another Homer special shout out, right? But this stat line really stood out to me last night. Holman was 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3-point range, 2 of 3 at the free throw line for 16 points, a total of 6 rebounds with 1 block and only 19 minutes of action.
Yeah,
it's pretty efficient.
Pretty solid for a potential NBA draft pick as he's going into a big season this year. I don't want to get too far off topic here, but you said exhibition season, but Kentucky plays Duke this week in basketball.
That's right.
That's the definition of stupid is what that is. It's way too soon to be having games that caliber. Game number 1, Kentucky and Duke.
And even Big Blue Nation doesn't care. Right?
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
That's why you don't have that game right now.
And now let me say this. The only reason Big Blue Nation doesn't care is because the football team was in the midst of the SEC.
They might care now.
If the football team was 2 and 8 like they have been in the past seasons, everybody
would be dying for it.
But I'll take the other flip side of that, Stephen A. I think it's good. I think, obviously, the thing about basketball that you can kind of get away with versus football is you can play Kentucky versus Duke. You can have Kansas versus North Carolina. You can have these big matchups early because it really doesn't affect.
Right.
You know what I mean? It kind of gives basketball
maybe always bounce back
a little bit of interest early in the season. Right?
It's way too early though.
I'm with you.
Basketball season right now.
I'm with you guys on NBA. I could care. For one, I don't care about the NBA anyway because Golden State's going to win the championship and nobody's beating them in 7 games. Right. But I turn on an NBA game right now and I immediately turn it off. Yeah. I'm not watching it.
It's too early. It's basketball. It should be at least Thanksgiving before.
I think they should push it back.
After Thanksgiving, I remember back in the day, you used to have the Great Alaskan Shootout Thanksgiving weekend.
That's right.
And that's what kind of kicked off the season. Nowadays, it's like, my God, you can't even put the trick-or-treat bags away before we're talking about basketball.
I haven't even thrown away my jack-o'-lanterns yet, man.
I've already got the Bluegrass Preps preview, which will be up this week, which we'll feature some of those previews on homersradio.com. But, man, I went to work. I rolled my sleeves up, went to work. Basketball preview will be out. The previews are one thing. Big-time games are another. And
that's right.
So enjoy your Kentucky Duke. I'm going to have to wait a little while before I get into it, although Kentucky will be very good this year. Let's go ahead and flash it forward. Let's get back into football, man. It's football season.
It is football.
Wearing my Harrison Smith Hitman shirt. It's football season.
Speaking of T-shirts, did you wear the Buddy Garrett Ford Friday?
Absolutely, I did. I got about 13 compliments on it from the folks over. I think that might have got me the food over there.
Okay. I like it.
I wear that shirt everywhere. You can catch me at Walmart wearing that shirt, no doubt about it. And we'll flash forward, courtesy of Roads and Roads. If you're injured in Kentucky, car accident or denied disability benefits, receive free case evaluation from a Roads and Roads attorney today at 888-709-9329 or visit roadsandroads.com. Let's kick it off down in South Warren, 11-0. Big time 5A powerhouse, number 2 to Covington Catholic, who to be the man, you got to beat the man. They still haven't lost a game in Covington Catholic. Taking on our Grayson County Cougars, 8-3. 8-3 is a beautiful record for Grayson County after they've suffered through a couple bad ones. Earlier in the year, 41-7 South Warren, but hey, no Q McHenry in that game. That's an interesting score.
It is
41-7 with no Q McHenry.
It is an interesting score. I mean,
Because instantly you got to think it's going to be closer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to take this game, to be honest with you, because I could see a scenario where Q gets going, and it doesn't have to just be Q. It could be some other guys contributing. Maybe maybe it's Bullock. Maybe Q takes the attention off of some of the other guys, and they're able to produce. I just go back to, like, Grayson County's bread and butter is to run Q. South Warren has Jacob Lacey.
The best run defense in the state. So it's a great clash of styles. I mean, in a way, you got, well, not necessarily clash of styles, but what one team does best, the other team stops best. So it's going to be very interesting. Once again, Grayson County coming off a pretty good performance versus an explosive Graves County offense. They're going to be up against Mr. Spurrier in this one in South Warren. I've got to go South Warren in the matchup. I do think that around halftime this week, that game's going to be closer than a lot of people are thinking. I do think South Warren imposes their will and runs away with it in the second half, but I think Grayson County hangs around and makes them sweat for a little while.
I do too, man. I'm kind of looking at the stats from the last game a little bit, and Grayson actually scored via a touchdown pass completion, so from Bullock to Haycraft. So maybe that's something that Grayson County can explore again. I just wonder if, for one, can Grayson establish a run game and churn off some clock, and can they not stop, it's probably not the good word to use, slow down that high-powered South Warren offense. I got to go South Warren.
Yeah, I think they're in line maybe for a state championship.
Yeah, I'll take South Warren. I'd like to see Grayson keep it within 2 touchdowns, though, and I think they have the means to do so.
Yeah, 41-7 before you had Q in there, you instantly cut that score in half, I would think, if they could play it that way again.
How about this? Mason Miller had an interception versus South Warren in the last game. South Warren likes to throw the ball.
They throw it around, no doubt. And if it's snowing and cold, they'll be more apt to make some turnovers.
That's a theme we're going to kind of get into over the next few games.
Q will travel in the code. The run game travels.
Yes, the run game does travel, and they're talking about, folks, potential snow Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested because we'll be in a warm press box.
That's a
space heater game.
That's a S word that I usually vehemently hate, but I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, especially in this one, as we'll travel down and get in the car, travel down to War Memorial Stadium, one of the most intimidating environments in the entire state of Kentucky, where the Mayfield Cardinals play their home game. Cardinal. No plural, sorry. 11-0 for Mayfield, as usual, taking on McLean County. 8-3, another beautiful 8-3 record for the McLean County Cougars. Are taking on a Mayfield team that is very balanced. I looked up Mayfield. The quarterback Stinson's right at 2,200 yards on the season, 28 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. That stood out to me because when you watch Mayfield over the years, we got to know them a little bit when we do the Catholic games. The thing that stands out to me about Mayfield, they don't wow you with their athleticism, and they are just fundamentally 100% sound, and they don't
mess up.
Beat themselves.
No,
they do not beat themselves.
They don't mess up. And you look at their two, like you said, their 2 big play guys in Stinson and Kentrey Matthews on the ground, and the receiving is very balanced. That's where they get you. You know, you can't hone in on that run game because the receivers, I mean, you're talking about Cade Neely, Diaz Perry, Alonzo Daniel, and Connor Guthrie. All four of those receivers are multiple 100-yard receivers. They legitimately spread the ball all over the field. And good luck.
Yeah, and you look, what I see immediately is balance. I mean, you look at Stinson, he's at 224 a game, and Matthews is 133 a game. So you're talking about ultimate balance. I mean, that's right where you want to be. I mean, over 100 yards rushing a game from your running back and over 200 yards passing a game from your quarterback with only 4 turnovers from each. That is a recipe for 11-0. That's why, because you don't turn it over, you control the ball, and you're efficient through the air. And their defense has also forced 40 turnovers, or 20 turnovers. That's right at 2 a game for Mayfield in the turnover department. But you want the chink in the armor, right?
Here it is.
You play Legend of Zelda. Remember playing Legend of Zelda?
Right.
You go against your little bitty Link, right? But you're going against this huge dragon. I mean, breathes fire. There's no way little Link could take down the huge dragon. Yeah. But in Legend of Zelda, there was always one secret chink in the armor of the huge dragon, right? That you had to take down. Mayfield can't stop the run.
Okay.
Even their own fans admit it. If you look into it.
Bad team to struggle against the run against.
But so you think, well, fans are just being emotional.
Right.
They gave up 281 to Darrell Clay on the ground. They're a little mad about that. But you look at the stats. They give up 145 yards a game on the ground.
And that's exactly what McLean County wanted to hear.
That's exactly what they want to hear. So, I'm not telling you that McLean County is going to win the game, but I'm telling you what McLean County does well is and this is the opposite of what Grayson and South Warren. What Grayson does well, South Warren stops well.
Right.
What McLean does well, Mayfield does not stop so well.
So in order for David to take down Goliath in sports, there has to be factors going into the game, and the biggest factor is matchups. Matchups dictate. Just like a boxing fight, UFC fight, styles make fights. And for you look at not only does McLean County's bread and butter is running the ball, Mayfield is not good at stopping the run. There's that. Then the weather. Okay, Mayfield is a finesse team. You look at what they do. They line up. They spread the field. They get it to a bunch of different receivers. It's a lot of it's finesse football with Mayfield. Now, don't get me wrong. They can hand the ball off and run it down your throat too, but that's not what they want to do. They want to spread the field and use their athletes to beat you in space. Folks, if it's 29 degrees and snowing or possibly even freezing rain or sleeting, this not only hugely favors McLean County. If that weather on a grass field, mind you, down there, it affects this game. If this game is a one-touchdown game heading into the fourth quarter, we may all be shocked across the state of Kentucky.
I think it has the potential to be within a couple scores late in this ball game. I really do. I think they can hang in there. McLean County will hit you. And I know Mayfield will too. And they're an absolute powerhouse.
I'm just saying,
this is
everything's coming together though. Like things just happen sometimes.
No stupid penalties.
Right.
We say it to everybody. We told Davis County last. No stupid penalties. Do not turn the ball over, because you see they force 2 a game and they don't turn it over. If you lose a turnover battle, I don't care if you just lose it by 1, you're not winning. You're not going to win the game.
No, you can't turn the ball over.
And you cannot have penalties that put you behind the chains when you're McLean. But a sneaky thing to look at here, A.J. Klein and that play action pass, every once in a while, I'm not saying go out and throw the ball 10 times, but if you pick and choose your 3 or 4 shots with Baldwin, that little out route, it's been there all year long. Even versus Owensboro Catholic, it was there. Just little things like that. We'll see. I'm taking Mayfield to win the game at the end of the day. But this is an interesting matchup for me. And you talk about Mayfield, they said Hancock, they were surprised, I think, a little bit by Hancock.
They're going to be shocked then this week.
I think you might be right.
We've been saying all year that McLean County wants to catch the playoff run with cold weather. It looks like it's lining up for them. I think Mayfield has got to be the favorite going into it. But like you said, with that weather and them struggling to tackle on the run, you try to tackle Peyton Caraway and Jacob Miller a lot in the cold, and then you struggle to tackle. So you start to try to tackle those big guys, then you throw it to Caps.
Yeah.
Then you throw it to all the speed guys out there. Baldwin, Connor Baldwin, he was out there running for touchdowns even. Munster. They've got a ton of guys that are going to stay fresh. Give me an A.J. Klein interception touchdown to win the game for McLean County.
It's on the DB. DBs are going to have a big chore this week.
I think that's what it is. He played out of his mind last week. I think he's due.
Baldwin, those guys, they're going to have a shot.
If you asked me 4 weeks ago about this game, I'm like, I'm obviously Mayfield's going to win by running clock. And that's not a shot at McLean County. It's just Mayfield's that good. But factors come together sometimes, okay? Circumstances, favor of the gods, call it what you want.
Be honest with me.
Call it what you want. I'm going to be honest with you. Mayfield's going to win the game. That's my honesty. But I've got a feeling because the contrast, to me the weather, To me, it's the weather. I mean, but the fact that Mayfield is having trouble stopping the run. That's McLean County's bread and butter. Too many M's for me here. But the weather, man, I'm going to tell you right now, this weather is not going to affect McLean County at all. They are going to.
We've seen them do well in a downpour, monsoon
against Apollo last year,
and against Hancock a couple weeks back.
McLean County is going to welcome this with open arms. Mayfield's praying that the rain holds off. I mean, they're down there like right now, like throwing like juke.
You got me like looking up the weather channel.
I'm telling you right now, like what's it say, Friday? Look at that.
Well, it says 49 here, but I don't know. I don't know what the weather's going to be there.
Yeah, no, with a low of 28.
Yeah, and the
low because it's nighttime.
And they're projecting that by then it could possibly have. And you're looking at freezing rain, sleet, and/or snow. That would be disastrous for Mayfield.
Yeah.
Because that's not the game they want to play. I'm going Mayfield, man, but if that game is a one-touchdown game in the fourth quarter, I think McLean County pulls it off.
And another thing we haven't mentioned, Mayfield relies very heavily on their quarterback.
Very heavily.
McLean County knocked the last quarterback out of the game they faced.
That's true.
They will put some hits on some people.
They get after you.
If Eubanks or De La Cruz, Noah Knight, any of those guys get an opportunity to put a lick on that quarterback, he might not get up.
I feel like the key, another big key, is at the beginning of the game. You got to try. You can't get behind.
No.
You can't let Mayfield come out and punch you in the mouth to open up the game, because it can very easily
field position like against Catholic.
It can very easily get away from McLean if they do get punched in the mouth early. It could get ugly on them quick. So it's a tall.
Right, they give up a lot of rushing yards per game, man.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm telling you, it's a chink.
McLean's got 9 guys that can run it.
Chink in the armor.
I just did the math.
It's a
Holy
chink in the armor, no doubt about it.
Wow,
they got 19 touchdowns and rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
This is getting me hyped.
It's interesting.
It's a clash of styles.
It is.
It's interesting.
And cold weather games, so it's going to be interesting.
Moving on to Steel Stadium and Vic Evans. Upset of the week coming up right here.
Whoa.
Yeah. He texted me, and I'm going to get it in. I'm going to throw him under the bus. Because, hey, it's interesting.
But just like we talked about in the last game, this is that same thing. Murray wants to establish the run game. Murray's physical. They're always huge. I mean, good Lord, even last year when Catholic blew their drawers out, we called the game and we're like, golly, look at Murray.
Yeah.
And they were young. You remember last year.
That's what it was.
Kept thinking,
some of the guys
thinking, hey, this team's going to be good, and they are better.
And they are significantly better than they have been. And they played a tough schedule. 7-4.
They have 7-4 at Catholic, obviously 8-3. To me, I looked at their record, at their schedule, and I didn't see any impressive wins, though.
Right.
That's what stuck out to me, is they have played a tough schedule, but they didn't win the games that were tough.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they lost the last week of the regular season to Union County, who's just they're really kind of a below average.
They've improved too, though. They've improved.
They have.
Yeah.
I just thought immediately when Vic texted me that, I was like, I could see that. I could see Murray sneaking up on Catholic and pulling off the upset. After I dug into it, I don't think there's any way they pull off the upset. I think Owensboro Catholic wins this game easily. We'll get you guys' opinion on it. Utley at quarterbacks, 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 187 yards a game. You got Thompson at the running back spot, 1,000 yards on the season, 15 touchdowns. Good pass defense. They only give up around 100 yards a game through the air. That will be tested come Friday night, cold or not. Catholic's shown the ability to throw the ball in cold weather. The thing that stuck out to me is that loss right at the end of the year to Union County, and really the teams they beat, just not real impressive. Not a lot of wins on the teams that they beat. They've played a kind of a tough schedule at times, but their district games not real difficult.
Yeah, that Union County team did beat Madisonville North Hopkins, so they're a little bit better than what they have been in the past. But Murray, getting back to the Tigers, they've like you said, they haven't got the big significant win, but Murray is big and they're athletic. And the weather. For me, this game, this all comes back to the weather. I know Catholic's physical enough to match up with them. Catholic can get under center if they want to, and I think it could win this game. And to me, that's probably going to be the deciding factor, is that Catholic can adjust their style enough to win this game in a cold weather environment. But the one thing we've seen from the Aces in the past is those nasty environments tend to derail the Aces. You know what I mean?
Sure, in the playoffs.
For me, if we have bad weather Friday, it's bad for the Aces because Catholic's the better team.
No doubt.
So if you're the better team, you don't want the weather to come.
No, right.
But I still think at the end of the day, with Catholic, if they can't throw it and the guys can't catch it, it's too cold, it's too whatever, I do think Harts can go under center, Noah Todd at fullback, Vaughn at running back, and they can still get the job done.
They've done a good job of working that in this year.
But it could be a lot closer than what they want it to be. So give me Catholic, but the weather could make this game interesting.
I'll make a bold prediction. My bold prediction is Catholic's going to win this game by a running clock. I think
that's
Catholic's
crazy.
that good. I do. I think the second half of the season, Catholic showed that they are an animal, and I think Murray's about to get the brunt of that this week. And then I think the Aces will be ready if Mayfield does come rolling in. I tell you, just looking ahead, I mean, I just think the possibilities are right there. For Owensboro Catholic. Well, what do you think?
I think Catholic wins about 3 touchdowns or so. I think the defensive backs, once again, in this game has a huge effect. I think Kessler and Mills for Catholic is going to be the guys that win on the game defensively.
I'm big on Harts this year. I think he's just rolled through the season. And Vaughn's really stepped up. I think they got enough guys. But you said the weather can be
that Utley can run the ball though. You remember him last year? He's a guy that can tuck it and take off.
I feel like he's been there for like 7 years.
Yes.
When I looked up the quarterback, I was like, Utley, he's still there? Because I'm a big Chase Utley guy, and to see Utley at the quarterback, I'm like, man, he's still there. And the Thompson kid does run it for 100 yards a game. I just think the Catholic defense is too much. Even if it is cold and rainy, I think their defense is good enough to really propel them to victory, even if their offense sputters a little bit. I just think that's what makes Catholic that much better this year is their defense.
In those years where they've lost to Murray in the playoffs, it's always been a game where they've had 4 or 5 turnovers.
Sure.
If the weather's nasty Friday, Aces, you got to hang on to the ball because to me that's the only way they lose this game is a bunch of turnovers.
And sometimes it's a depth issue, and I don't think Catholic is dealing with that issue nearly as much this year. It's probably the deepest Catholic team we've seen.
I think so too. Yeah.
All right, that sets it up.
Here we go.
Main event. One I'm looking forward to.
Man.
Dave, I texted you earlier. I said we're going to go 2 hours tonight, and you said, nah, ain't a chance. So we're right here at it. We're right on the doorstep of it. And Owensboro will be on the doorstep of something they haven't done in quite some time this Friday night, and we'll be there courtesy of the Don Moore Auto Team to shop over 13 brands and 1,000 vehicles. Visit moredeals.com to see the More Advantage. Best value, transparent, and upfront. It's moredeals.com. It's the Bowling Green Purples.
Boo.
9-2, taking on the Owensboro Red Devils. 9-2. 2008. That was the last time Owensboro beat Bowling Green. 13 in a row for the Purples. God. And I swear, I think I've opened up this game with the same line every time.
And you got a purple shirt on right now.
I know I do. That's not good. It's negated over here by the red and the neutral navy. I'm a purple guy on Sundays, but
Vikings.
not on Fridays.
Just to clarify, Vikings.
Not on Fridays. And I think I've opened it up with the same line every time. Is this the year that Owensboro finally gets it? And I swear they tricked me into thinking that this is finally the time, almost every time. The fact of the matter is Owensboro's a better team. I'll just lay it out there for what I think. I think Owensboro's a better team. I think Bowling Green may have the best player on the field just slightly. Maybe. Right there at it.
Well, if you go by offers, I think you objectively have to say yes. If you go by offer, yeah.
But after that, I think the next 3 or 4 guys are Owensboro guys. And then Buchanan's probably in the mix. Dingle is in the mix, yeah. But I think overall, if you ran them down position by position, I think Owensboro has the advantage, talent-wise, across the field. And now, much like Mayfield, Bowling Green doesn't ever seem to make a whole lot of mistakes in these Owensboro games. They play 100% clean. Owensboro is good for some penalties and some turnovers all season in every game they've played. Is that who they are at this point? You just have to take that and hope they can get through it?
See, that's where I'm at right now. So, this is a game where I don't see the weather being a factor because Bowling Green and Owensboro are mirror images of each other. They spread you out. They're athletic type teams. I do think Owensboro's run game's a little bit better than Bowling Green's. I think the combination of Trey and Monty, I think for Bowling Green Friday, if the weather is inclement, they're going to have to rely a lot on Vito because the other guys are okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the other running backs aren't fine. I mean, you got Jamil Smith, I believe, is their main guy, but you look at Vito with 700 146 yards, and Smith's is 268.
Sure.
I mean, it drops way off, whereas Trey and Monty, you're getting
I was a little surprised by Tisdale's numbers.
Well, a lot of that's because they won games by a lot, and he's just not been in the game. He's not been in the game. But yeah, Buchanan, to me, is the cog in the wheel for Bowling Green. Bo Buchanan has played flawless. I'm talking Mortal Kombat flawless victory against the Red Devils over the past 3 years. The kid just doesn't make mistakes when they play Owensboro. He just doesn't. And he, obviously, if you're a Purple fan, you're looking to continue that.
You look down here, he hadn't made a lot this year either. 21 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions.
Yeah, and he only threw 3 last year. And all 3 of them came against South Warren in the playoff. He had no interceptions the whole season until the playoff game. So Buchanan's the real deal. Whatever small college he goes to is getting a steal in that kid. But you said it, Steve. For me, as a Red Devil guy, we've talked about how many weeks now. Owensboro is so dynamic. Owensboro scored 49. It could have been 64. Owensboro scored 42. It could have been 56. If they. To me, at some point, that's who you are, right? You're just gonna drop passes. You're gonna get some turnovers, Unfortunately, Will Warren does have a tendency to make some throws. Sometimes you're like, oh, where are you throwing that ball?
Right.
Just throw it straight to the defender. Don't do that. You do that against Bowling Green, it's pick 6. So he can't have that. But not just on Will's fault. You can't have like for example, the first time they played Bowling Green, throw a pass to Owsley, it gets all the way down the 3-yard line, it gets called back because you got an illegal man down the field. Just little stuff like that. You can't. This Friday night, Owensboro's going to I'm not saying they have to play clean because I'm not that sure that's who they are, but you have to minimize the amount of mistakes you make Friday night.
Yeah, I think you're okay. I think Owensboro's, honest to God, I think Owensboro's good enough to overcome a couple penalties here today.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they may even be good enough to overcome a turnover around midfield. You can't turn the ball over going into the end zone. You can't turn the ball over deep in your own territory.
Sure.
Those will kill you. Those will beat you.
Right.
But if if you're going to fumble around midfield. I mean, but I think they can get
around
away
the 40
with that. I think they're good
40,
enough to do that. I just think, Bowling Green's defense, 19 sacks, 17 forced turnovers on the year. They give up about 120 a game on the ground, 120 through the air. And I think Owensboro will have more of that through the air if they're going to win the ball.
It's not a vintage Bowling Green defense by any stretch of the imagination.
There's going to be opportunities.
There is.
And I think Owensboro they're dynamic enough to take advantage. Across the field, so many guys to stop. I think they're going to score points, and I think at the end of the game, when we're on the air next week, we're going to be talking about Owensboro's defensive line and their front 7 with the ability to get the pressure on. I've seen it. Their defensive line have dominated games at points in this year, and I think it's on their defensive line. How do you rattle even the best quarterbacks? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys. They don't like people in their face. They don't like pressure. How do you force them?
And Buchanan can get away from pressure. That's the one thing people around here don't realize about Bo Buchanan. He's a lot like Drew. Bo Buchanan is literally a 6'4" Drew Hart. You get to him, and he gets away from you. And that happened in the first matchup at Bowling Green. You get Diamond Glover gets back there. Yvonne Scales gets back there. Trey Skinner, and he just spins away from him.
What you got to do is you got to contain. It's not necessarily always about the sack. It's don't overrush the guy.
Sure.
Keep him in front of you. Discipline rushes, and I think Owensboro can do that. I do. I think their defense line's the story. I think their defense is so much improved, even with a few mistakes in here. I think it's crazy to say that versus Bowling Green, but I think they could make a few mistakes and still win the game. As long as they're not deadly turnovers and they're either end of the field, they're going to be fine. Owensboro's going to win it by a couple touchdowns.
I look back to the first time they met this season.
2 touchdowns.
And Owensboro should have beat them then. And Owensboro wasn't nearly as good as they are right now. Owensboro's gotten better every single week. I think Owensboro gets the win, 7-point victory. I think instead of the defensive line, it'll be the offensive line for Owensboro. We're talking about keeping a clean pocket for Warren and not letting anybody get any pressure and making him make a quick decision and throw a bad turnover. Owensboro's only allowed 3 sacks the entire season.
That's crazy. And I think they were all 3 to Noah Todd. I think they were. But guess what? Bowling Green don't have Noah Todd. So how about that?
That's right.
No, they don't.
Right.
So, God, man, now I'm getting nervous. See,
I'm confident in saying it. And you know what? I don't care about the pass. That's what if you're an Owensboro kid, I don't want to hear it's mental. I guess got to get over the mental. No, you don't. Who cares? It's a football game on Friday.
Friday has nothing to do with anything, any other game.
Nothing to do with it. Nothing. Go play your game Friday night. Don't care who's across from you. Win your battles. You're going to win this game by a couple scores because you're the better team. It's that simple. Don't let that even creep into your mind.
I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I was gonna pick Bowling Green,
yeah,
but y'all have talked me out of it.
They're not gonna win this game. Bowling Green's not winning it.
Let me say this:
they don't have Wallace there no more. That mystique is gone.
Are you in my mind or something? Stop it.
That's where I'm at with it.
There you go. Steve just stole my point. Stole my thunder. Kevin Wallace is gone. And I think the butt whooping that Bowling Green took to Indianapolis Warren Central, Bowling Green's not the same team. Whatever happened up there in Indianapolis, they took a what was it? Bowling Green
60-something to
62-14. Bowling Green got beat. They've never ever been beat like that since in the recent. They go and get thumped versus South Warren, and they beat a bad Bullets Central team the last game of the year. But then here's the thing that stands out to me, guys. Christian County 29-7.
I saw that.
That Christian I'm gonna be honest, that Christian County team's not that good.
No, I had a running clock on Bluegrass Prep's prediction on that game, and that was a lot closer.
That one right there stands out to me. This Bowling Green team's in a bad place right now. You combine that with the fact that Wallace is gone, the weather might not be good, and Rash Stadium.
It better be rocking.
Oh, it is.
It better be rocking, guys.
It's going to be rocking.
It's Monday night. You got some days to prepare. You better get the parkas out. You better get ready because I want that place rocking.
Right like McLean County.
That's right. That's right.
And I think it's going to be just like that, minus the fireworks. I think that the Red Devil fans, they had a great crowd for the Greenwood game, and I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to be second to none, special bar none. Owensboro gets the big purple monkey off their back, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys, this win could potentially set up a big line of successful run here for the Red Devils coming up over the next few years.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt. The talent's going to be there, and man, we're all three in agreement. I think Owensboro win.
Devils are not good for teams.
There's no fluff here. I truly believe that if Owensboro loses the game on Friday, I will be surprised. I will be a little disappointed.
I think they're going to win.
I think it's set up nicely. And hey, a record for the runtime on the homers here this week. Hey, I think the whole show, if you can sit down and listen, I think it's good analysis, man.
It is.
Across the board. Good luck finding that anywhere else. I mean, I really dug in, and I know you guys did too. The award with the Gorilla team, and I think all in all, just a show this week. Meat and potatoes is what I like to call it.
It is.
No cotton candy salmon though. I could use some right now.
Follow at Homers Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Find us on Facebook. Stephen Brandon Clark, HomersRadio.com, and Homers Radio channel on YouTube. Gorilla style.